Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's Friday, November 22nd. I am here tonight with Maurice, the native patriot. I am so psyched to have you on tonight. We're just going to kind of go over some news from the week and I want to get your thoughts and bat some things around. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. I'm in a little bit of pain. I tweaked my back a little bit, took the day off, been at home resting, but I am glad to be on your podcast. I know I don't think I've actually ever been on this podcast now that I think about
Huh. No, we've been on I've been on yours,
it.
but
Yeah.
yeah, actually now that you mention it. All right. Well, then
Well,
it's extra special.
yeah, I'm honored to be on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. I want to. All right. So I made a list of things for us to talk about, right, Maurice? And then about 10 minutes ago, I just had a minute to look on Twitter and something popped up that really bugged me out. And it's trumping the other things right now. So I want to talk about this for a second. Jamie Michelle of Gays Against Groomers, she just posted this about 15 minutes ago on Twitter. It's a she reposted a transgender person's tweet. It says, "My new vaginal canal is going to be partly made of alloderm, which is made of sterilized tissue from human cadaver skin, which is so effing cool and cyberpunk." And whoa, that's weird. And Jamie Michelle wrote, "Turns out I don't think I'm going to be an organ donor, actually." And I never really thought about this, right? And this is a moral issue.
I mean, it seems that there's no line that they won't cross to try and achieve their perception of becoming a woman. They're willing to sacrifice anybody and everybody they can in order to achieve it. And this is just another step in that direction. Another step in the depraved. I mean, using cadaver parts to try and make yourself a pretend vagina that's next level demented, because it's not like it's going to be used to give birth to a baby. It's going to be used for a dude to penetrate, which is just, I mean, that's dark. That's
It's
dark.
dark, and the whole thing just has this evil, creepy feeling to it. I don't want to be a part of it, even if I'm dead. And I'm listed as an organ donor right now, but I don't know about your state, but here in Florida, like nobody asked me, like, "Hey, what are your limitations on your organ donations?" Like I don't even know what it means, and now I feel like I need to look it up in my state. Does this mean also donated to science or just for life-saving matters, or can it also now be given to insane men who want plastic surgery on their genitals? Like, were you asked any questions or
I,
in Washington State?
no, you're automatically signed up to become an organ donor. I believe it's either when you register to vote or when you get your license, something like that. But they automatic like you have it's a process to opt out of it. So I and
Wow, that's
yeah,
also creepy.
yes, it is. And there's no limitations to what they can use as far as I know. I so that's kind of like really disturbing. And it might give me some nightmares tonight, just because I never imagined that they would start taking parts to off of a dead woman to put on a man so that another man could have sex with it. Yikes.
This is like Mary Shelley, when she wrote Frankenstein, she couldn't have even come close to imagining this. That was a really good book, by the way. Somebody in the comments is saying my brother got a kidney transplant at UW. I was like, don't do it. I can cure this. Live and live. I don't know why I don't do it. Don't take the kidney. So it's kind of funny. I don't really talk about this, or I haven't yet, but the reason this hit me so hard is one, I'm an organ donor on my driver's license, and now I feel like I do need to rethink it. But I'm a living donor. I donated a kidney. So, I made that choice and it was within my control.
Yeah.
And this is just something that even what, not that I want to have control when I'm dead, but my intention was to save a life. And that's my intention with being an organ donor. If I get in a fatal accident or something, like, is to save a life, not to mutilate what God created.
And then be used as to help have sex in a way. Like
And there's no sex. There's no sex. So we've seen the pictures of what actually happens in these fake vaginas. Like some of them have like massive hair growth on the inside because of, and they have, I mean, we see these reports of like dumpster in July stink, like it's just stuff that you can't even imagine because it's rotting flesh at the end of the day because it can't be done. Anyway.
Yeah, well, that's
do
a
you
hell
regret
of a way to end out your Friday.
Well, we're just getting started. So, but aren't you so glad you came?
Yeah.
All right, let's follow this thread, but keep it on a lighter note. Okay. So
I don't know. I mean, I hope it's lighter than that. That's
absolutely,
pretty
I
heavy
promise.
right off the bat.
Right off the bat. Well, come on, you're used to Eddie. I can't possibly be freaking you out. All right. So this week, while Ukraine was, firing missiles into Russia, and we're all sitting here, and Europe is bracing for World War III impact. Our Congress spent a couple of days publicly arguing about where Sarah, a.k.a. Tim McBride, is going to go to the bathroom when he becomes, when he's sworn in as the first transgender Congress person. Real quick, this is what Johnson said about it.
I just want to make a statement for all of you here and be very clear. I was asked a question this morning at the leadership gaggle, and I rejected the premise because the answer is so obvious. For anybody who doesn't know my well-established record on this issue, let me be unequivocally clear. A man is a man, and a woman is a woman, and a man cannot become a woman. That said, I also believe, that's what Scripture teaches, what I just said, but I also believe that we treat everybody with dignity.
Well, I mean, he said it pretty good. He goes to one UFC match, and all of a sudden his balls come back, and he can speak about these things more clearly. He can definitively say that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. I don't know why this has become such a controversial topic in the way that we've just allowed these people to change the definitions of so many words, but not only that, the way that we see reality in general, and the way that we understand reproduction and how the entirety of the human species has gotten to this point. All of a sudden it's redefined because some people have different feelings and believe that they want to be the opposite sex. And then that's placated to the point where now in society as a whole, and in Congress, which is one of the branches in the most powerful country in the world has ever known, all of a sudden they're now debating whether or not a man should be using the women's restroom. No, unequivocally and undeniably, no, absolutely not. End of story. Too bad. Go do anything else. Go pee outside on a tree.
Yeah, I don't care either. And don't they have? Oh God, Eddie's here. Here we go. Here we go. Bringing you in, Eddie. Welcome.
I just peeked in for a second. I was doing some reaction videos and I saw you guys in the studio, so I figured I'd pop in.
Awesome. What do you think?
What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Peeing outside? What was that?
Well, that's what Tim McBride is going to have to do as far as I'm concerned. So he did put out a statement after Johnson was like, this is how it's going to be. And he took it like a man, and he agreed that he will go to the men's room or go to his own office. I believe they all have their own bathrooms in their office. It seems that way.
Fetterman put out a statement, said he had his own bathroom, and Mr. McBride is welcome to use his anytime he wants.
All right. So a dude offers a dude his bathroom. Like you're so brave.
He's still using a man's bathroom at that point, right? Since it's Fetterman's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It makes about as much sense as all the rest of it, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just thought that was, kind of an annoying distraction, frankly, as with so many things that goes on Capitol Hill.
I spoke to Nancy Mace yesterday. It's when my days are running together. Spoke to her yesterday. I spoke to her PR person and spoke to her, and we're trying to line up when she can come on the podcast. I think it's going to be week after next. And she's I can't wait. I can't wait to have her on and talk to her and just let her vent. You know, she is. I mean, she's pushing the envelope now. I mean, some people say that, you know, well, where were you for the last 3 years, and all of a sudden you're in this fight. Valentina Gomez went at her a little bit, and I saw that in the post, and I DM'd. I was like, you know, we can, regardless of when people wake up. I'm just glad they're awake, whatever it takes. You know, if they're going to jump in this fight, you know, let them jump in the fight. I would rather have them, you know, on our team than not on our team.
All right. Yes and no. I went off the other day on Seth Moulton, who's a Democrat in Massachusetts, who after the election bloodbath came out and was like, "Hey, I don't want boys, railroading my girls on their sports teams." And I'm like, and everyone's
oh,
like,
I didn't know what you were talking about there for a second. What are you? Hold up. Where did we just go here? Okay, never mind.
You see, I use words sometimes that I don't know have double meanings. Okay.
I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I don't know.
So
it's talking to a woman, Michelle. What are you doing?
I don't know what I say sometimes. So one time I was on a stream with my son, and somebody made a comment that, like, mom's from the streets, and I was like, thank you, because I thought that meant she's got street smart, she's a little tough. Yeah. And my son was like, no, mom, that's not a compliment.
I had to learn what based meant when Maurice kept using based. I had no idea what based meant, because when we grew up, base was something else, or you know what it meant, right? Base head or being.
There was a drug reference, right?
Exactly. So I had no idea. But I guess I'm old now, so I'll figure it out.
Hey, I'm getting there. I'll catch up with you eventually.
Oh, get bent, Maurice. You're so young. Oh, wow. Yeah. I have to say, though, you are so young. And I am well old enough to be your mother, but I really do look up to you and admire you. You have done so much in a short amount of time, and the short amount of time that I've known you, 6 months or so, you have so much integrity and fight and love for this country, and I love it, and I love seeing your profile rise on Twitter and elsewhere, and I'm excited to see where you end up going with your podcast and with everything. So,
well,
anyway.
this is a we thing there, Elena, because you're part of this journey, and you're definitely helping us out, because my profile has grown, and I really do appreciate all of my followers and the community that is being built there. But the Patriots Prayer Network as a whole, I believe that we're going to elevate to something great one day, and you are a big part of this, Elena. So
thank you.
I think we're going great places, and of course Eddie has been he sleeps maybe less than I do, trying to put in the work and the hours, and
and
it's,
we got so much ready to happen. Yeah. It is fun. I don't think that I've ever done any of this and I felt like it's work. At times I felt like my actual work gets in the way of what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I feel that.
That's about it. That's about it.
I think we all love this.
Yeah, I think I just had to slow down a little bit and refocus myself on my 9 to 5 for a while, because the election had my attention so divided, and they had to say, hey, are you here? Are you actually here? Are you here? Because you're somewhere else most of the time. And, they weren't wrong. But you know what, though? It's okay. The work that we put in, all of us tirelessly, pushing the line and, talking about American values is what you're talking about, and the heritage and, who we are and who we were meant to be. And that's what we all have to do. And we have to do it in more than just behind these microphones and in our podcast studios and that sort of thing. We have to do it when we leave the house, when we're at the grocery store, when we're at church, it doesn't matter where we are. we have to take that with us. And I believe it was just like what we said when we were in at the Old State Saloon. You have to be the change that you want to see, and that means
embody the values you wish to see in this world.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, with
That's-
our votes, with our words, our actions, our money.
Yeah,
You
where do you
know?
spend your money?
Where do you
That's
spend
a
your
big one.
money?
What a relief, though, guys. That because I mean, imagine if we wouldn't have won this one, and what that would have really meant.
Bro,
I mean,
I would like to imagine that on a different day, because in Washington State we lost, man. we
yeah,
we got a shit governor. Excuse my language. We got a terrible governor. We got a terrible. I mean, everybody that I voted for has lost in my state, so it didn't really work out too well. And they're enacting some wild shit here in Washington. That I mean, Elena, this is something that actually I would like to work on with you and go into a deep dive, because they have medical facilities attached to schools, and the way that they are protecting children's rights to access this gender affirming care without parental consent or knowledge is insane. The way, and
Ugh.
not only that, the way that they're going to be tackling extremism, right-wing rhetoric, and all that. That's
oh yeah, you got some new hate speech laws or something that are in
That's-
effect.
Really?
yeah. Oh yeah,
Really?
that's kicking in January 1st. That is already it already passed. It is kicking in January 1st, and basically the government of Washington State is creating a hotline to where you can report
Sure enough.
incidents of hate and bias that the government will keep track of.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but maybe
it's not
time,
good.
maybe it's time that we well, it's obviously not constitutional. So it's a very easy suitcase that somebody just has to be the one to jump on that grenade and file.
Yeah, right. But in the meantime, what it does, it just scares people into submission, because most people don't want to fight City Hall. They won't even, or I should say, they won't even fight City Hall. Never mind fight the state. Never mind fight the feds. They won't. They don't have the Constitution for it. That's really awful and scary. But when that does happen, and it does rise to the level of the Supreme Court, rights will be restored. But
I don't know. They banned 50 guns here last 2 years ago now. They banned 50 different types of assault weapons, and the Washington State Constitution is it's stronger on gun rights for the individual than the federal Second Amendment, because Article 1, Section 24 of the Washington State Constitution says the right of the individual citizen to keep, what is it? The right of the individual citizen to keep and bear arms in defense of himself or the state shall not be impaired. So they're not even supposed to impair our right to own weapons, yet they can ban them left and right, and they don't care.
Perception is power, and if people believe that the government has the power to do the things they can do, then they capitulate and they bend the knee and they just go along with it. All you have to do is defy it. And I'm sorry that sometimes that means making a sacrifice, and you may have to be the sacrificial lamb that does that to bring attention to these types of things. But the reality of it is straight, translation of what the Second Amendment says in the Constitution. It uses a word called inferred. Inferred means to be above or outside. It says that the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, is inferred, which means the government can't take it away. It supersedes the Constitution.
But they will lock you up.
But they do. But they do take it away.
Yeah.
They do infringe. They do take
Absolutely.
it away.
They banned USCCA, the United States Concealed Carry Association. So in Washington State, if somebody breaks into your house and you shoot and kill them, the state's definitely going to come after you, and they're going to try to prosecute you. Yeah, oh yeah, they're commies here, literally, and especially if they have this entire ledger. Once this hate speech crap kicks in, where you can get reported, if all of a sudden somebody breaks into your house and they're in a dress, right? And it's a dude.
Oh,
and
now
he
you
breaks.
hate hate crime and
Yes, they will come after you, but they banned the United States Concealed Carry Association along with any other type of insurance because basically they were insurance where if you get into a gunfight, you would then have $1 million in coverage
say that
in
again.
court fees.
Say that again. He said a million. Say
A
it
million. Yeah, you'd have $1 million in court fees, or whatever the coverage is that you decided to buy. It's
Sure.
insurance in case you ever have to use your gun in self-defense. They banned it because they said that's insuring criminal activity.
Criminal.
And so exactly. Yeah, they are against all kinds of gun owners using it in self-defense. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard Justin Trudeau say the other day that maybe it wasn't the other day, but I at least saw a video of him say this the other day as to how Canadians don't have the right to use their guns for self-defense like Americans. And that's what our state governors on the West Coast, at least, are trying to go off of. They're trying to follow that kind of blueprint and say that, yeah, you can have guns for hunting and yeah, we'll ban any magazines over 10 rounds and we will try in every single way to put you into a corner. That way, if you ever have to actually use your gun for self-defense, they can go after you. Because I mean, we're an open carry state, but in order to carry concealed, you have to have a permit. So the difference between being completely legal and a felony basic would be whether or not you had your shirt tucked in. You're allowed to carry as long as everybody can see it. But if you don't have your shirt tucked in and your shirt's covering your gun, oh, that's illegal. Can't do that.
That's nuts.
All the laws are stupid. I'm getting so sick of this state with the way that they treat guns, with the way that they treat parental rights, with the way that they devalue human life and how they treat abortions and not only that, just children in general.
Where's King County at up there?
Seattle.
Okay, so I did an entire report 2 days ago where in 2019 there was 10 heart attacks. In 2020 it just continued. It went up 1,237% from the time they started giving the jabs.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And the death rate of the heart attacks have increased 25%, while at the same time the population in an area has decreased. So they can't argue that people were coming in from the outside that weren't there originally. Not only did they not come in from the outside, but it increased as people that lived there actually left.
I don't think if you told that to anybody, even the family members of those who had passed, none of them would believe you. I mean, not that they wouldn't believe the statistics, but they wouldn't say that the vax was the issue. They would just say it's probably something else.
Well, they don't want to. People absolutely cannot.
There's a peer review study now.
They may have been wrong. It is very hard for people to admit, oh, maybe I shouldn't have taken that thing.
Yeah, this came from a peer review study that was referenced by Peter McCullough himself. So I mean, anyone can go get the literature. That's how I got it. Here's Trudeau talking about what you were just saying.
Oh.
In May, our government introduced measures to implement a national freeze on handgun ownership. Today, our national freeze on handguns is coming into force. From today forward, it is no longer legal to buy, sell, or transfer a handgun in Canada.
Oh my God, this is creepy.
This is what our government's going for right now. And I know that's Canada. I know that's Justin Trudeau. But the governors here, the blue state governors, they want to defy Trump in any way that they can because they don't see us. They don't see themselves as representatives. They see themselves as rulers, as defiers of the evil Trump and all the white supremacists that they're terrified of. It's crazy.
I just tell people this: don't listen to them. Don't listen to them.
I don't.
Don't do it. Literally, I'm gonna
catch up with me at some point, Eddie.
I'm gonna do with the lady in Pennsylvania. Remember the lady in Pennsylvania who walked back all her statements after she made them? It was hilarious. But I'm gonna do something similar to that. But I'm actually gonna be right when I say it. Don't listen to them. Don't care if your court system makes a rule that is the antithesis to what we already know is written in our Constitution, and they, don't want to listen to your rights. They want to take your rights. So we just don't listen to them.
I know it's really easy to say, Eddie. People are providing for their
If
families
anyone-
and they don't want to go to jail.
I'm telling you this, if we don't start making sacrifices, whether that means going to jail or prison or whatever the cost may be, if we all don't start doing it regardless, we're going to lose our rights.
Well, no, but I think you're
That's
right.
true.
But I think you're right. But I think we can, if we can, well, we can't, though. We've been trying for years now to rally people to stand up and do something beyond voting. I mean, we did get people to at least to vote correct, to the right this time, but it's very hard to get people to do more. And unfortunately, it is going to come to probably what you're saying, where lives have to get destroyed in order for change to happen, because people just don't seem to want to take that next step and get involved in even their local government to make the changes.
Tell my wife all the time I live like a dead man. I don't expect to leave this life alive. My life is in God's hands, and I'm going to do whatever's right, no matter what the consequence is. I've already dealt with those consequences. There's nothing they could throw at me that I haven't been through already. Yeah. I'm not afraid of it whatsoever. So I'm always going to stand up for my rights, and I'm going to stand up for the rights of others. And I'm one of those people who have no problem saying it. If you're a man and you try to go into the woman's restroom, I don't care if it's my daughter in there or your daughter in there. That guy's not going in there.
Oh, see,
that
that's
guy
what
probably
we were
will
originally
never...
talking about. I don't know how we circled around to all that other stuff, but
yeah.
That's where we started. Yeah,
Yep.
That's right where we started. When you're talking about, this is a little bit of a leap, because I want to talk about, how people, what is it going to take for people to make a change? So this week in the spotlight is Maura Healey, the governor of Massachusetts. No better than your governor out there in Washington. She's an absolute monster, and she has flat out said, here, just listen to this tiny clip.
Massachusetts state police assist in mass deportations?
No, absolutely not.
Just absolutely not. And she's doubling down on this. And so is Mayor Wu of Boston. Meanwhile, 39 child sex crimes have been committed by illegal aliens in 2024 alone in the state of Massachusetts. That's 39 children.
Because the left is so compassionate, don't you know?
And because they're so compassionate. And she is still saying that she won't get rid of these people. So there will be, anybody can go into a ladies' bathroom in Massachusetts, and you can do whatever you want. What's going to need to happen for a liberal state to wake up? Like, is it ever going to happen, or are we literally going to need a national?
This is what you do. You remove all their federal funding and you starve them out and let them deal with their own policies. Let them starve on their own policies. No federal funding for the roads, bridges, schools. You don't allow the Department of Agriculture to fund them through the welfare system. You cut them off.
Yeah, that is one way. And, we were talking about earlier what we can do. We can stop visiting. Like, if Maurice invites us to an event in Washington State, okay, we'll come. If it's going to be for the good of the state, if we can go and help you,
it's going to be all in cash. It's going to be local. There's nothing's coming to the, no taxes are being paid.
I mean, gassing up in the, well, I don't want to gas up in Oregon either, but I don't know what to do. Yeah. I'll bring. But no, I mean it, that we'll do whatever we can to keep it lean and then pay in cash. But I really, like, for tourism dollars, I'm not going to these places anymore. I'm not going to, I grew up in New York. I'm not going there and dropping $1,000 on dinner and a Broadway show. It's not happening. I will not support them. And I those are sacrifices that are relatively easy to make if people can just toughen up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I have a long list of people that I don't patronize anymore, like Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts. There's just a long list of I will not watch or buy any Disney products of any kind whatsoever, or Pixar now for that matter. After the other day, did you see the video that got released where they put they did a sting on the Pixar, the animationist that got caught in the hotel with what he thought was a 15-year-old boy? I posted the entire video online. I posted the entire video on my X feed, and they had a hidden video cam in there, and he just going at it, ripping his clothes off, excited as could be, and then to catch a predator his ass. And then the other one, the the Disney guy that was, and also worked at Pixar and a few of the others too. He did too. And he live streamed, raping young girls over 1,000
Jesus.
times. Over 1,000 videos were live streamed. And I mean, it's amazing. And it was so just hard to even hear, because they said in some of the videos, you know, the kids were like begging them to stop, and it was hard to hear and listen to. But if people don't get it, people don't understand. I guess it has to hit home. It has
Well,
to.
look at
to
this,
them
Eddie.
before they realize.
This is Seattle today. This is posted by one of the people I follow who had just taken this, and I mean, they just passed. They're trying to pass a law right now that gives it, to make it a civil right to be homeless, to be able to do this and use that as a civil right. So that way, they're literally equating this to having black and white Americans be equal. They're like, well, you have a civil right to be homeless and be able to camp out wherever. So they want more of this. They're bringing more of this in. Not only are we a sanctuary state, not only is Seattle a sanctuary city, they are now making it a right to be homeless, to make these encampments impossible to remove. So we are
You ever
going to
heard the
have
term?
an increase of crime, an increase of trafficking, an increase of rape, an increase of violence, an increase of drugs.
We got a question. We got a question. Holy smokes, is it always like that next to the stadium?
Is that what that is? The stadium?
Yeah, that's the Seahawks or the Mariners stadium.
PTAC? What's it called? No, I don't know. I forget what it's called. I haven't been there in years.
Yeah, it's
Mariners. Yeah. But it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. So if it's legal to be homeless, that means can we take this down so I can see your faces? If that's legal, can I just roll up in a fancy neighborhood and just and pitch a tent or
No.
and with my shopping
There
cart?
you go again. What's your word? No.
You know what I want to do? I was wondering, well, if it's right, can I stop paying mortgage and then become homeless and then declare that this is my encampment and you can't.
That's the thing. One of the most
the white man is going to come and take my land.
We were talking about this in Massachusetts on the spaces that we had the other day, and there was some rich county, and they all voted to become a sanctuary county because they
were voting that day. Natick is a city. Yes, yeah.
So they were voting because it's never going to affect them. That's the thing about most of these liberals, right? Most of them are most of the money is on the left. People think, oh, Elon Musk. Well, Elon Musk is just one person. They have every media company, just about every other tech company. All the rich people are on the left, and because they know that they're not going to be affected by it. How long did it take to get the homeless people out of where was it? Martha's Vineyard. Was it 2 days, 3 days?
I thought it was a little over 24 hours, something like 32 hours. Yeah. But I think that's going to change, Eddie. So Maura Healey, back to her, she just said that what she's going to try to do is get people out of her hotel, the Healey hotels that they call them, because Trump, it's easy for him. Then he just goes, throws a net over the hotel, scoops everybody out and tosses them back over the border. So she just announced that she's moving people out of hotels faster and into apartments across the whole state that the taxpayers are going to pay for. So she's going to be placing them in all towns, in all cities. Now she'll probably
that happened in Baltimore.
Yeah,
that happened when I was a kid, and it destroyed the entire state. Baltimore City used to have low-rise projects. In fact, I grew up in one of them as a kid called Lexington Terrace. And when we had a Mayor Schmoke, and he decided that the city couldn't handle all the poverty, so they tore down and imploded all of the low-rise brick building projects like they have in New York.
Yeah.
And they spread all the poverty throughout the state. And all that happened was all the little kids that were out in the outskirts and the county kids and that sort of thing who always emulated the city kids and looked up to them anyway. Now they lived there, and now Piper and them are over here thinking they're gangster, and they're doing the same things that happen in the city, and it just spread. It's a cancer.
Well,
It doesn't get better.
This is
No.
also how they're going to ensure that they can stay in power, because the more people they bring in and spread
Right.
around the state, the harder it is to kick them out. The less that they'll work with the federal authorities to
Ding, ding, ding,
deport
you
these
nailed it.
people. All of a sudden, they're going to have all these extra voters. So even if you stay in a state like Washington or Massachusetts or wherever these blue states just happen to be,
Mhm.
it is going to be almost impossible to win and get out of this hole without having some kind of civil conflict that results in a change of leadership.
That's it. Didn't I say that the other day too? You don't get out of this without a head-to-head. There's no way the United States gets through this to anything better without a head-to-head collision. It just is not going to
Well,
happen.
do you wonder, Eddie, that
Mm.
right now the governors of Washington, California, and Oregon on the West Coast are all kind of banding together, and a couple states like Massachusetts are saying that no, we're not going to work with the federal authorities and we're not going to deport.
Yeah.
They can go to jail too. They're subject to the federal law as well.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that the Mason-Dixon line was the South and the North. This could be the East and the West. It could be,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know exactly what. I don't think that they have the numbers they think that they do.
Right?
I don't think
Yeah.
they have the numbers they think that they do, but
Yeah.
as of
they
now,
don't.
they have the control over all of the national or the National Guard. They have control of the entirety of the West Coast and what comes and goes throughout all the ports. And
National
that's
Guard
Yeah,
will
but
have
they
to
do have
answer
a
to a higher authority once the federal government changes hands. So even at a state level, their authority can be superseded by, our Secretary of Defense can turn around and say, "Don't listen to your governor. In fact, arrest your governor."
they won't.
They do have a couple of aces though that they're holding. You're right,
Mhm.
Maurice. I mean, I don't think it's people seem to think that if it comes to the left versus right war, that it's just going to be easy peasy. It's not going to be that simple.
I don't
No,
think
it's
it's
gonna be
easy
very, very
peasy, but
complicated.
I think that there is no compromises to be had, because
Not anymore.
any compromise to be had would have to be a compromise that both sides can live with. And I'm not willing to throw my values in the trash can and allow my daughter to compete against a man, or you have a
Nope.
man shower next to her, or to have my little boy's wee chopped off at the age of 12 or taken. I'm not bending on those things, and I would give my life
Me
in
too.
defense against those things. So I think if as long as they're pushing those things, if they want to fight, just when and where, I'm okay.
Okay. Well, I got a little question for you, because Tyson James, he's a Christian rapper and he lives in Washington State,
Yeah.
and he posted a video on Instagram about it. There was a little kid in the video, his little kid,
Oh
and then
yeah, yeah.
there was a toy gun
This kid does
behind
a
it.
good rap as well. Yeah, I like that.
No,
kid.
but in this video, there was a toy gun on the ground, and some lady reported him, and
Child
so
endangerment.
he was getting investigated by CPS,
Mhm.
and they're trying to go hard after him because of a toy gun that he
Mhm.
showed them when they showed up. He said he initially let them in the house. Don't ever do that, by the way. I will
Ever.
always tell these people to F off, get off my property, come back with a warrant. And but he did. He let him in, and then he showed him, hey, this was the gun in the video that everybody's so concerned about. But now, as far as I know, they're still going hard after him, and that he's seeking legal counsel now and trying to figure out. There are so many different ways that they will attack, and it's a way
Yes.
to like isolate you from any sense of having any help. Right? It feels like you're alone in this battle, because this is something that's not. I don't quite know how to say this, but it's not something that's going to rally the troops, right? You're not going to be able to bring in an army of people to come and say, "Hey, you're not going to take my kid." I mean,
We
I
need
feel like
organizations
Me
like
too.
the American Civil Liberties Union. We need those types of organizations, but for
We have
sane
them.
people.
We have them.
Yeah, well, we have ACLJ, which is Jay Sekulo's organization, which is the antithesis to the ACLU.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those types of things. But we as a
ACL.
people, we need to really start. Well, the American Defamation League it fell off the face of the earth. I mean, when
No,
it came,
no. The Americans Defending
oh,
Liberty, I think
Liberty,
it is.
yeah,
Yeah. Not the Anti-Defamation League. No,
yeah.
they're nuts.
But yeah, we need as a people to start supporting these organizations and groups and people who are fighting this fight. So when people are attacked, like Tyson James, he can make a phone call and realize that he has a group of people that will stand behind him and stand for him. The way the left does. When the left gets in trouble, next thing you know, they got Jesse Jackson and Ben Crump and all these people that are out there.
Because
we need people like that, but we need them for the right.
I agree that we do, but my point was that he was a high profile person, and regular people won't have that kind of support. They're not going to be able to make YouTube videos about this and get any kind of support. They're going to feel isolated in every way possible, believing that they did something wrong, because maybe they posted something on Facebook with a literal toy gun in the background, and all of a sudden they're getting investigated by CPS. Don't have the funds and resources. I know I wouldn't have the funds and resources right now to fight off a lawsuit or no way. There's no way.
And there's nothing as scary as the thought of somebody coming to take your child. Like, you're not even thinking straight at that point, right?
No, that's when
Yeah.
I can't say it, but yeah, I'm well armed for a reason. Yeah, I'm well armed for a reason. Ain't no way a federal is taking my kid away from me for some stupid reason.
Nope.
Especially like that.
But and CPS can no longer be trusted. I say that all the time. Like, you can't even call CPS now if you think a child is in danger, because they're taking children away and brainwashing them and sending them for gender affirming care, taking them away from their parents.
Their MO is parenting classes, and then they put you with their psychologists who have agendas, and then psychologists work their way with the kids and get them to say things. Exactly right. And it's true. I can't tell you how many people that I know, they're just afraid of modern day psychology, and definitely afraid of the psychologists that work for our social services throughout the country, because they're agenda based, they're agenda driven.
But that's wonderful that people are afraid, and I'm glad to hear that. But a lot of people don't. The first thing, you talk to somebody, so many people in my life, they're like, "Oh yeah, I think so and so should go see a therapist," and I'm like, "No, please, no,
don't do that."
I listen to on Pandora. I listen to the Zach Williams station a lot. He's a Christian artist, and they have. I don't pay for Pandora, so I get Zach Williams.
Fantastic, oh yeah, of course,
right, yeah. And there's commercials, of course, and there's this
one that's more like me. I love that song. More like me.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And there's these commercials, and one of them is for this company called BetterHelp, and I think it's hilarious that it's on the Christian station, because the commercial starts with like, "There's no book about what to do when you're having relationship problems, or you're sad, or you're this." And it's like, you're on the Christian station. Yes, there's the book. We've got the book. Thank you. And, it's this commercial for, talking to some quack, because really, like, what we used to call quacks are nothing compared to the quacks of today, who are literally just there to push their own activist agendas. And I hear this commercial, and I'm like, people are actually buying this though, and thinking, yeah, I should talk to a therapist. Hell no, stay out of my head.
I will talk to a pastor if I trust him.
Yeah,
that's about as far as I'll go.
Just me asked a question. You said, how will they handle this? Can it be federal law or have to be the state? And I think he's referring to the issue with like what we're having in Washington State. Honestly, I think this has to be done internally. I don't want to call feds in to regulate my state. I would rather have my own people stand up to the government in every way possible, because why would we deserve to be rescued if we won't even stand up for ourselves?
No, true. But federal law does supersede state law. And when your representatives in your state, governor, mayor, whoever, start just going rogue, that is what the federal government is for, and they need to step in and arrest these people.
It's just sketch, though, man. It's a.
It is. It can be, depending on how it's done. It's a slippery slope to federalism and that sort of thing. But when it needs to happen, it's just like martial law. Everyone talks about martial law as if it's such a like an evil thing, and no, it's a provision in our Constitution for a reason. If you look around us today and look at all the media companies and how evil they are, and you take a look at how many people that are military that are just look at Millie, look at many. There are many Millies, and ask yourself how we are going to fix this. We have governors right now, just like you just mentioned, saying they're going to defy the federal government, defy the Constitution, and they're not going to listen.
But in a way, it's important to be able to do that, because I hope that if we get someone like, if Kamala Harris would have won, I hope that Texas would have stood up to them. I hope in a lot of ways.
But they would have done it with the Constitution,
correct,
and not the other way around. So the people have to be able to discern.
That's what I'm saying. It needs to be our people. This is going to have to be something that's going to need to be done by the people of Washington State, that are going to have to stand up against the government and tell them to F off. They're going to have to say no, and they're going to have to mean it.
But are they going to do it? I mean, we started the conversation about Washington, about how it's just lost in this sea of blue madness. What are they ever going to? They don't want to stand up for the government. They want the government to be their daddy. They love it.
Yeah, they really do. They just want to kick back, own nothing, and love it, and be given everything. Universal basic income.
I don't think it's that popular. I got to be honest. I know that it sure feels like the overwhelming majority of people in this state don't feel that way, but I know that we're outnumbered every single time we go to vote with our universal mail-in ballots that have just signature verification, and the second that signature gets verified in your return envelope, they get separated. Every ballot is the same.
Yeah.
I cannot check and say that the ballot that I sent in, that I voted for Donald J. Trump, and I voted
perfect crime
for Dave Reichert, and many other, ours down the ticket basically, but I cannot ensure that the ticket I sent in was the ticket that was counted.
And all of the states that did that were
there's no way. It's literally impossible.
No. What I'm saying is that there are more than one state that did that. Like Wisconsin did that, and Pennsylvania did that too, where the signature was on the envelope and not on the ballot.
Well, it shouldn't be on the ballot, because ballots are meant to be private and not tracked back to somebody. So it's a privacy issue. So I worked on the mail ballot team here for 6 weeks in my county, Brevard County in Florida. You could track that when, because your signature is outside on the envelope, it comes in, we verify the signature. Once it's verified, then they're separated. The envelope is then separated from the ballot, but not until after signature verification. I don't know what goes on in Washington. This may be a lot wonkier there.
Nobody does. You're literally not allowed to know. They have a bill that bars you getting any information about the election as far as chain of custody, what security measures they have, copies of the ballots.
I would change
pictures of the ballots for 25 years. They don't have to release any information about it.
We have like a public viewing room that you can watch people doing this work and making sure. And then you have a list of everybody who voted, because you have voter ID at the polls, at early voting, and then you have all the mail-in ballots verified, and then you match that up, and you have to have the exact same number of voters and votes. And every single one of them has had a signature verification at some point. And that's how, the basics of how it's rolling here in Florida. Now, Florida is known for being a more secure state. I would love to look into Washington and see what it is, but signing ballots isn't the answer. You need your privacy.
I would disagree. I don't care about secret ballot. I voted for who I voted for. I don't care if you know.
Yeah, but
the reason for secret ballots,
some people do.
Yeah, the reason for secret ballots was to avoid voting intimidation, and people being forced into a vote, and that's one of the best things about a secret ballot.
You can do it with a number. You can very simply take the serial number off that ballot, you keep it, and the other one's on the ballot, and your name's not on there. But at least at that point, it can be verified.
But then there were it's verified in Florida in the way I said. I don't like mail-in ballots at all. I want them all to go
Me
away.
either. Yeah.
There were still
Single day-
holes in even the best systems.
Single day paper balloting should be the way that it is across the country. It was really look at every state Kamala won was one where they didn't have a voter ID law.
Yeah. Isn't
And
that
then
something?
and then it's like they're trying to force us into this corner where we're like, okay, we need a federal law, and then it's like, no, you can't have the federal. We're not a kingdom. It sucks because with freedom comes so much responsibility, and because we have this freedom, we have these libtards on the other side of it that want to misuse their freedom
That's
the way
my
that they
state.
do.
I got a lot of work to do in the next couple of years. I'll tell you what.
I want to ask you guys if you know about something because I haven't had a chance to look into it. So I was at lunch the other day with a group of people, and one of them is a lib, and she goes, and anywhere where that Elon Musk used his Starlink on the voting machines, I want all of those votes hand counted. I don't trust any of it. And I said to her, I said, you know what? I actually think that everything should be in person, hand counted across the country, because no American should ever feel that, they can't trust the election process. And she looked at me like, if looks could kill, she would have killed me right there, because she's okay with the mail-in ballots when they suit her agenda. I couldn't believe how she looked at me. Yeah. She
the left love Section 230. The left love Section 230 until Elon Musk bought X, and then all of a sudden they want to get rid of it.
Right. So what do we know about the Starlink? Do you guys know anything about the Starlink issue with voting, like where he was involved? Because I saw a couple headlines about it, didn't have time to dig into it.
No, but I know that the voting machines none of them were supposed to be hooked to the internet until they uploaded the votes, and they did it at a certain time of night or whatever, and they hooked them in for
that's pretty much it. It sparked that whole conspiracy about Elon Musk hacking into these voting machines. And the thing is that, like, we all agree they shouldn't be hooked up to the internet. We're all in agreement here, guys.
My vote shouldn't have to go to space and then come back. Like, we're all. But if when you say that to a lib, all of a sudden she was.
Yeah, and then
she only wants the ones that Elon touched.
Yeah, exactly. Also, let's look at 2020 and kind of see what happened there. I mean, you start looking into that when all these voting machines were, hooked up by Ethernet cords, and it's like, okay, you have a problem with it being hooked up to the internet. Well, we've been saying this for literally years now. Come on,
anyone heard the outcome of the Arizona investigation and heard what they said?
No.
There was mass voter fraud. They concluded their investigation. They held a huge press conference, but none of the media picked it up. That lady read that whole thing out, and she read massive numbers of voter fraud that happened in Arizona. But remember when they were doing that investigation and we were all just on pins and needles waiting for the outcome? Well, the outcome, it came out, and they stood up in front of a whole press corps and read it. And then nobody picked it up. Not even Fox picked it up and read it. That's sad. That's why I hope Elon Musk buys MSNBC.
Is that just a rumor, or you think that's something?
No. He
said it. He said it.
No, he didn't. He said
how much
Trump Jr. Donald Trump Jr. made a post. He quote tweeted. It said MSNBC is for sale, and Donald Trump Jr. said, "Hey, Elon Musk, I have the funniest idea." And Elon Musk commented underneath. He said, "How much?
Yeah, how much?" Yeah.
Very reminiscent of what happened before he bought Twitter.
Huh.
But we need it. We got social media is now, Parler's on the comeback. We have Truth Social. We have X. We have enough now. People aren't trying to silence us. But what we don't have, not even one of, is a media company that is owned and ran by an unbiased free speech, media platform. There is not even one. There's not Fox, Newsmax. None of them are. They're all owned by BlackRock. Every one of them are 51% owned by BlackRock.
So how would that work? I mean, would they still be
They
able
would just
to broadcast
Private.
on their regular channel? On
You
their
just keep it private. As long as they keep it private and don't have an IPO, then they all they have is an FCC license and they can broadcast.
but they would get their studios, they'd get all the equipment, they'd get the entire
the
setup.
hosts, the contracts, everything.
Oh, they would all leave.
Oh yeah, but wouldn't you just
You're
love to
fired. No, you know what would be really good is if
Scarborough.
if they were all still under contract, and what they did is made them be like janitors instead. Like yeah.
Joe
like-
Scarborough cleaning toilets. Yeah.
But still have him like that's during his time slot. Be like, all right, here's Joe Scarborough, but he's cleaning toilets instead. Like, son of a bitch. That would be more. That would bring in more views than his show would. I
Or
guarantee
just,
it.
Yeah, or just like say, okay, Joe, you're in your contract. Here's your obligations, but we're bringing on a panel, and now Joe's got to sit next to Joe Rogan and the Native Patriot and Eddie, and like,
But
let's
that's it.
go.
That would be the way to do it. Don't fire them, but make them have to defend their points of view. Let them have them, but put Patriots next to them.
Yeah,
And then when they say that BS, somebody can call them out. The way it used to be before they got rid of the fairness doctrine. All media companies used to have the right and left perspective. They weren't propaganda companies, not to the extent that they are now. They would always have. Remember, before it was bought, they used to have what was that show? Hannity and Combs. Remember, it was a Democrat.
What year was this?
Long before you were probably
time.
watching
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, you
Was this late 90s?
You were
Yeah.
still on your big wheel. Yeah,
All right.
probably. Yeah.
I was born in 91, so
Really? Oh.
The Smith-Mundt Act essentially turned all of
there.
these news organizations into propaganda, into propaganda networks. And if they want to restore sanity into the country, you have to start with the media. These are the people indoctrinating everybody. Everyone out here that thinks that I literally had to argue with someone today on X who quoted, posted something in reply to something I said, and he called Donald Trump a rapist. And I literally had to educate this person. And then I put the clip up where E. Jean Carroll literally said he did nothing sexual to me. But they don't know what's going on because their news networks lie to them.
You know how to fix the media? I know how to fix the media. Well, actually, RFK is going to fix the media, because if you once you stop allowing big pharma to fund these media companies with their pharmaceutical ads, all of a sudden the entire incentive for media is going to change, because they've been subsidized for so long by big pharma that once those ads end, once they are not legally allowed to advertise their bullshit medical pills anymore, the media will change completely. It will become X. I mean, it's going to demolish
right now.
any
They're being
kind of Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, all that shit. It's gone. As soon as that goes into law, as soon as they stop advertising, boom, they're all gone.
What's going to happen to Congress? I mean, when they stop advertising, they're going to stop making, because now people are going to their doctors like, I would like to try this. Like, like buying a new pair of shoes. And so
how that works. The pharmaceutical rep goes in, and with their suitcase, they buy the doctors in the whole office fancy lunches, and they say, I want you to start prescribing this particular drug. And every time you do, I'll give you a kickback. So the doctors who come in, the doctor hasn't read any of the safety notes on it.
Wait.
Haven't done anything. The next thing you know, you're being given a drug.
If news stops getting subsidized by big pharma, does that make doctors more dangerous by them having more of a budget to incentivize doctors? That's kind of a scary thought too. That's
100%. But you know how you
kind of problem.
How you fix the medical community is very simple though. You get the insurance companies out of it, and you allow doctors to compete. You stop allowing frivolous lawsuits. Like, for instance, if I make $30,000 a year and the average life expectancy of a male is 72 years, and I'm whatever it is, you times the amount of money I make over the period of time that I would live, and that's how much you can sue for, unless it was malicious. But every time somebody does something to somebody in a medical practice to say, I'm suing him for $10 million. your dad didn't he recycled aluminum cans for a living. He was never going to make $10 million. So
right, just make somebody whole.
Yes,
But
it's
not
it.
necessarily rich. Yes. Well, that's
Exactly.
another. I mean, there seems like there's this multifaceted approach, but I think that you just think Big Pharma will lose money if they're not advertising. Yes, they'll have more money to.
They'll be incentivized to make drugs that work.
They'll have more money to incentivize doctors to sell stuff, but people won't be. They literally have people singing and dancing on drug commercials and tap dancing with pretty colors. Like, we won't be pre-sold on drugs before we go to the doctor. So I think it will hurt Big Pharma, and then it'll hurt Congress because they're getting, they get millions and millions of dollars in lobbying and campaign donations every
digging some of the new names though. Have you guys ever noticed how they have the new drug names? Like the one with all the gay dudes in the commercial for the HIV pill, it's called Duvato. Like, what the hell are you doing? It's literally called Duvato.
Well, they're usually some sort of a play on whatever the main chemical compound in the pill is.
Sky Rizzy and Keytruda, they sound like cousins. Trulicity, I went to school with her.
We just passed 1,776. I've been trying to say this now we're at 1,793, but we just passed 1,776 live viewers on this podcast. If you guys can, please share this podcast. Follow. Oh, that's the wrong way. Follow the base mother here. She is based as all get out. Make sure to go to her account, give her a follow, share this podcast. She does a great job. Smart woman, bold, and I am blessed to be on her show today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where are we at on Rumble? Because these numbers are not inclusive of Rumble numbers.
I don't know. I can take a look.
We're at 14.
No idea. But we are on. I know we're sharing on X right now, and I'm trying to introduce a lot of my viewers over, or a lot of my followers over to Elena here, based mother, and more people need to know about you. She put out a documentary called The American Groomer. Make sure to watch that. What is it? AmericanGroomer.com?
American Groomer Film. Yeah, AmericanGroomerFilm.com. Close though. Thanks.
Dang it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You guys saved me tonight by coming on, because I was telling them before we started, I hurt my back today. And so I don't really take painkillers, but I took a little bit of tramadol, and I was like spaced, and I got scared, and I was like, I can't be alone tonight. So thank you guys to Eddie and Maurice to the rescue tonight.
Yeah, I was out here. You know what? I want to give what's it called? The American Senior Association out here. My stepfather came to live with us, and as he got here, he had a heart attack. And so I've been back and forth hospital and calling people. They wouldn't release him because of the insurance situation, and he had to have oxygen to come home. And so the bill to get it out of pocket was exorbitant, because he just came from Arkansas. It didn't transfer immediately. And I went up and I saw these people, and I explained the situation, and they gave me an oxygen concentrator and everything for him to bring him home. And I was able to bring him home today. So guys, I'm going to be putting together something for these guys. I'm going to put their funding information online and everything. And these guys definitely need a shout out. They were absolutely awesome. I have a brand new oxygen concentrator sitting in my living room that doesn't even take the water or nothing. It's one of the brand new machines, and they just walked it right out to my car.
I don't know what that means.
Is
it the thing that like goes up their nose and helps them?
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
So the thing that you see, if you go down to any casino here in Vegas, there's like a smoking section where you're going to see a ton of old people with Marlboros, they're still smoking, and they have the oxygen machine on.
That's why I'm smoke less vets, trying to get veterans to quit smoking.
No kidding. That's what that is.
Yeah. Well, this is a big initiative that I'm behind. I'm not a veteran myself, but It is a movement that I believe, and I'm trying to work
Well,
with more veterans. They seem to be good people.
he's a
And
veteran,
consistently good people.
and brother, he's a veteran, and I can tell you the reason why he's in this position with COPD and all that shit is because he smoked.
Mm-hmm.
So I took his lighter when he got home. I took his lighter, and he can't run fast enough to take it back. So I took his lighter. I took you're not smoking, buddy. And there's people who shouldn't smoke and can't, and you're one who can't. And I'm not gonna let it happen. So
There's so
Yeah.
many, there's so many good reasons to not smoke, but I smoked a lot in my youth, and I do still occasionally. Like once in a while, I get a hankering and I'll buy a pack of cigarettes, and then I'll smoke half of it, and then I get mad at myself, and then I wash it under the kitchen sink. I run water in the pack and I throw them away, and then 6 weeks will go by, and I'll be like, I'm going to do that again, and
Quitting
so
smoking's
I get it.
hard.
It's really hard,
I'm a cigar person, so I like cigars, and I like different, high end, low end, different cognac, cured. I mean, I like cigars. I've always liked them because I'm a whiskey drinker, right? So
Well, hey, I like cigars too, but I have a hard time smoking them because I
you're not
smoke
supposed to
cigarettes.
inhale cigars.
Yes, I know. That's my problem.
Right.
Is like I'm so used to smoking cigarettes that when I do smoke a cigar, I'm like, like
Yeah,
"Geez,
you will
this-"
literally pass out if you inhale one of my cigars. You're gonna fall down.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be
Yeah.
pleasant.
That's
Mm.
but the not inhaling part, like I just
It's not
it's not fun.
it's not as satisfying, right?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I
But
mean, look,
yeah.
It's a different
bottle-
thing.
the bottle behind me that I have, and that's for when I get 100,000 subscribers that I'm gonna crack. It's 33-year-old cognac now, and I'm dying to open that bottle. I promise you, and I got it in the decanter and everything. I want to open that bottle.
When we meet
Where's the
Trump and
100?
shake his hand.
All right. Yeah. All right. So that's either of those possibilities, right? 100,000 subs. Is that on Rumble, on Twitter, anywhere?
Twitter.
100
Twitter?
on Twitter and or shaking Trump's hands. Is that fair?
I got to say hello to him over the phone. Does that count?
No.
No.
Okay. Then.
You're not opening it tonight.
But yeah, so man, Eddie, I appreciate it. I do have to get going though. My wife has made dinner. I can smell it cooking. She has texted me. But I do have to get going. Elena, thank you for having me on. You guys, I guess follow me at LaNative Patriot on X. Make sure to follow Eddie at the Patriots Prayer. And my gosh, follow Elena Barbera, the based mother. She is incredible.
Maurice.
I absolutely love this woman. She is going to do great things. She's already made an incredible documentary. I'm looking forward to working with you for however many years
What
we can
the
keep
hell?
this going and build up. I'm excited for it.
Look
You're
at this.
awesome. Thank you.
Look at this. Look at this shit right here.
You guys ever try crack?
No,
It's
Haven't.
only on Tuesdays. It's
Yeah.
not Tuesday.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks so much for coming, Maurice.
Cocaine
you know
is a
what?
hell of a drug.
You know what? I'm going to keep Eddie for 5 more minutes after you leave, and I'm going to hit him with what I hit you with at the beginning of this podcast
Oh,
to see
yeah.
what he
Oh,
has
man.
to say.
Yeah, good
I
luck,
got
Eddie.
something for you, Eddie.
Okay.
It's going to be tough.
Down.
We'll finish where we started.
All right. See you guys. Elena, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This was a blast.
I'll
Talk
see you
to you
next
later.
time.
Bye.
All right, Maurice. Talk to you, brother.
Bye.
All right, Eddie. So I came here tonight with a list of things, which we got to a couple of them, but I said to Eddie, I said to Maurice right before I came on, I saw this text from, a tweet from Jamie Michelle, the president of Gays Against Groomers.
Mhm.
And so this is, she retweeted some transgender woman, some dude, right? Wrote this. I want to get your reaction. My new vaginal canal is going to be partly made of
I
alloderm.
just threw up a little bit.
Wait, there's more. Partially made of alloderm, which is made of sterilized tissue from human cadaver skin, which is so effing cool and cyberpunk. So then Jamie wrote, I closed it for her too soon. She wrote, turns out I don't think I'm going to be an organ donor, actually. So
Yeah, I don't want my organs going to further the transgender. No,
no,
no.
no.
I mean, if I have to go so far as to get a medical directive to say, if you want to give my heart to someone who needs it or whatever, but yeah, I'm not donating my dingling. I'm sorry, it's not happening. I'm not
Right.
donating none of that kind of. I'm not doing it. Not happening.
I
I'm
don't
not.
want my skin grafting the
No,
inside of some insane person's
no,
fake new vagina. Like, I don't want to
no.
be like, I think it's evil, these people mutilating their own bodies, and I don't want to be a part of it. And now, like, how do I opt out of that? And what
Yeah,
other things? And I was saying, like, do you know anything about this? Like, I have to look at my state where I'm opted in as an organ donor. Like, does that mean they can also sell my body to science? Like, I also don't want some failing medical student cutting me up either. What are the rules? We there's
I
so
don't think there
much.
are any rules. I think that you give up, rights to your body when you pass on, unless I believe, unless you actually have a specific directive, which you have to, work with your lawyer to create. So the hospital can't supersede it. But that'd be how I go about it. And if this is how they're going to start doing things and what they're going to do, I think more people need to start thinking like that. Really.
I that's what I'm saying. Like, I have never thought of this. Organ donation traditionally, for as long as we've been alive and known that it was an option, has been for life saving.
Yeah,
I
hearts and
die.
kidneys and livers and
Yeah.
things like that.
Even
Not
eyes, like my sister received 2 cornea transplants from
mm,
from 2 different donors who died. Like, she was going blind, and it saved her sight. So, like, but I
really.
yeah,
They can
yeah,
do like the whole eye transplant and you actually come
just
out
the
good on the other
cornea,
end.
just the cornea. She just only
Okay.
had cornea transplants. I don't know what other options there are, to be honest.
My eyes are terrible.
It's wild. It's wild. Yeah, she had a degenerative corneal
Oh,
disease.
macula AMD,
Yeah, yes, I think that's it.
AMD,
It was
macular
a long time
degeneration.
ago. It was like 25 years ago that
Yeah,
happened.
it's called AMD. Yeah.
So I would hate to, to see things like that stop, life-saving, sight-saving, but so you can have a fake new hole.
Got to get rid of the sickness though, because sick people are going to do sick things. But you got to be able to have a standard and a value system and be able to say this is right and this is wrong. And it's not until we get that and to be able to say this is right and this is wrong, instead of just saying I can do whatever I want. And if that's what's right for you and not what's right for me, until we get past that BS, it's going to be, moral relativism. And that's what's destroying the country. It's moral relativism. Because even people who didn't believe in God used to actually believe in the 10 Commandments. I mean, we could all agree stealing, lying, disrespecting your parents, the basic
Not
stuff
anymore.
was wrong. And now it's, it's all relative to the individual. And it's terrible. We need to say, as a country, as America, this is what's right, this is what's wrong, this is what's good, and this is what's bad. And that's not fascism. That's what they tend fascism. Fascism is so much more than that. But to a waterhead, I guess it's not.
I was talking to a lawyer about, just legislation and morality, and he's like, and he made this comment, and he said, you can't legislate morality. And I was like, you absolutely can. Why do you think
Absolutely.
murder is illegal? Why, stealing was illegal, and in a lot of places now they're like, yeah, take whatever you want,
You can't legislate religion, but you can definitely legislate tenets of that religion that are more moral based, like murder, like a lot. I mean, that's and how they like to change the language. It was always a argument over the language, and they try to use words like it's not a baby, it's a fetus. Well, fetus actually means baby, so it's still a baby.
yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, we've really, the honor your mother and father. Now they're teaching little kids that your parents probably got your gender wrong. at
Yeah.
birth, and so you might, putting the first brick in the wall between parents and children,
Death,
you
death
know,
of the family, death of the family.
yeah,
When I grew up, I wanted to make sure that my name, the legacy of my name, my surname was something that was looked at as good. Like I wanted to make my family look good. I wanted to make my mother and father proud. I wanted to do something with my life that look at what I did for my family. Today, as a whole, people are like, it's my life. I'll do what I want. It's my life. And they don't care about how it looks on their mom or their dad or
yeah.
whatever. They don't care about family legacy. They don't care about any of that. People are selfish, which is worse than hatred, by the way. If you want to know the opposite of love, it is not hate. It's selfishness.
Almost like an indifference to how my actions affect other people, right?
Correct, because it like Anton LaVey and many of the people that are purveyors of the early satanic church, they didn't teach people to worship Satan like in prayer form, and they didn't do that. What they did essentially was told them, do whatever feels good, whatever is right for you, do that. They teach them selfishness in the satanic church. That's what's taught. It's not hatred. It's not
Self-idolatry, the
pray to,
exact opposite
pray
of.
to demons and stuff. It's selfishness.
Well, that's where the my truth thing comes in. You don't have a truth. There is only
That's right.
the truth, and
That's
his
right.
name is Jesus, and that's all there is to it.
No, Don Lemon went on that rant one time. He said, "Well, I'm going to, teach my truth. My truth. Like you're a journalist. You're supposed to teach your truth. You're supposed to tell the facts and let people make up their own minds."
He used to be a real journalist. I mean, I wasn't awake to it, but like fully. But I think like what was it, like 15 years ago? I remember I first got to know him during the Sandy Hook shooting, and he was there in Newtown, and he was on the street, and he was very compassionate. And it wasn't this whole like take away guns thing. There was no political agenda. He was just sharing the facts, being
Yeah.
compassionate. And I was like, oh, I like this guy, because back then I used to flip between CNN and Fox like all the time because I knew there were different perspectives, but they weren't like what,
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean,
wasn't
listen,
off the rails. And then he just turned into a nutcase.
when the Kerry Bush election was going on back in those days, before I understood what I know now, I hated Bush. So I was like John Kerry all the way. And then I started really, woke me up was I have no problem saying Alex Jones. And the way he did it, it was Tim Russert, who used to do Meet the Press, remember, for years. Tim Russert was on Meet the Press. And he asked them a question. He says, you and Bush are both in Skull and Bones, and it's a secret society. And he goes, it's so secret, I can't talk about it. And I thought, is he joking? And then I went and I looked it up, and then that's how I found Alex Jones. And come to find out, they're in Skull and Bones, which is an offshoot of the Tool Society, which is an offshoot of something that was called the Vril Society, which Hitler was a part of. And then so they have these satellite gatherings where all of these people get together and they perform these ceremonies and mock rituals. So the one that they have in the United States, that they do these same ceremonies that came from way back in the Nazi days, that they have here in the United States, is called the Bohemian Grove. And that's where they go and they in front of his owl god, Molech is an owl god, and they sacrifice children in effigy in front of this. And that's how Alex Jones made his bones early on, was he was one of the few people to sneak in there and get the ritual. Yeah,
the Moloch from the Bible, from the Old Testament.
Right. The one that they used to sacrifice children to.
Yeah.
They actually have in the redwoods of Northern California. There is Republicans and Democrats alike. A lot of the old guard Republicans were all members of the Bohemian Grove. In the Bohemian Grove, they have that big statue there, and they do mock sacrifices where they sacrifice people in effigy to an owl god. And Molech was always depicted historically as an owl, a giant owl. And they did this for real. And they go through this whole ceremony where they're wearing robes and there's no women allowed in, and they run around nude and Alex Jones got it all on film. He got it all on film. If you have never seen it, go look up Alex Jones' early documentaries. I believe it's called Bohemian 2000.
God, Eddie, God, I got so many rabbit holes. I got so much digging to do. I can't wait for, this Patriots Per Network with all this truth coming out to like really be as just a full-time endeavor for all of us, so
Yeah,
that I can just
yeah.
sit around and dig all day and night and do nothing else and have, we're getting there.
Did you catch the podcast I did the other day with Nate Kane and Nick No?
No.
And where we had the CIA? Oh, you missed out. We asked the
It's still
question.
there. I'll check
We
it
had
out.
we had the question. We asked the question: is Osama bin Laden still alive? Come to find out, we have the phone. I'll send you an email later with all the documents. But the phone calls are in there as well. When they killed that guy in Pakistan that they told us was bin Laden, it wasn't. It was actually bin Laden's son. And that's when Iran reached out to Obama right around that time. And Obama sent him $400 million on pallets. And the reason he sent that to him is because Iran said, you either do that or we're going to let the world know that we got the guy that you just said you killed. And it's your election year, isn't it? So they sent a guy over there by the name of, and I got their phone numbers too. The people involved, I've talked to them. Everything here. Hold on. His name was Joe Biden's best friend, literally. His name was Bellinger. And I got all of the phone calls where Brian Edinger. And between him and Lieberman was involved, Edinger was involved, Susan Collins was involved. They are all on these phone calls and the communiques that went back and forth that ended up being made public. And so the voice calls are there, and he's like, I'm going to go visit bin Laden on house arrest in Iran. And then we were trying to figure out a way to get him out of Iran and back into the custody of the United States. And this was after they supposedly
he was buried at sea.
After. And then check this out, and I'll send you this video too. Charles Strange, the father of one of the SEAL Team 6 members, the ones that went in and raided bin Laden's compound, supposedly, all of those members ended up being dead, getting killed, right? Later on, and they went into Tajikistan, and they went into an area that was deemed the Taliban's stronghold. Well, when the parents forced the military to tell them how their sons and daughters died, was all sons in this case, died, they gave them a book with no ink in it. There was nothing written in the book. It was a blank book. So they called and they said, there's nothing in this book. So they sent them a CD, and they redacted some things on the CD. The mom of Ed Strange, Charles Strange's wife, took the CD, put it in her Word document, and changed the font, and all the stuff they hid came out, and she made copies of all of it. And now the documentation's out there for anyone to see. Our government sold our own soldiers out and told the Taliban where they would be, when they would be there, and they armed the Taliban. So they set these kids up to die. And when they were confronted about it, they didn't deny it, but they said, why did you do this? And General Horowitz. General Horowitz said to win the hearts and minds of the people. So they sacrificed our soldiers intentionally to get the people behind.
That wouldn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me. They'll do whatever they need to get their agenda moving forward. Somebody is asking about Rob O'Neill, and it's funny because I was just going to ask you the same thing. The Navy SEAL who shot Osama bin Laden.
Yes, yeah. Went on his little media tour and all that.
Yeah, he's known for being that guy. You think it's all
full of shit? He's full of shit. I've seen the documentation. Actually, and more than that, I talked to the men who handed the thumb drive over with all of the material to Matt Gaetz, and I even have video of them handing it to Matt Gaetz. And Matt Gaetz literally took the thumb drive with all the documentation and said, "This is some scary shit, guys." And then right before the election, Donald Trump was on stage and he retweeted this where Joe Biden set up SEAL Team 6 to get killed. And they said, "Sir, why are you putting out conspiracy theories that this happened?" And he says, "I retweeted it. I retweet a lot of things." And he was trying to avoid the specifics of the question. But later on, he got that same guy, Charles Strange, who uncovered that document and printed it out with the entire unredacted document, was on stage with Trump, and Trump promised him an investigation within the first week of him being in office. So the people's homes got raided who had this information. Matt Gaetz had that investigation into him happen 1 week after he was handed this thumb drive. And it's just all surrounding, this all goes back to Osama bin Laden and whether or not that was Osama bin Laden that they killed in Pakistan. Eddie's been busy. I've been busy.
Eddie, man, you got a lot going on in your head, man. I don't know. I just am taking it in. I always learn new things that from you that I want to investigate. But I'm over here just trying to find out where the porn in the schools is, which is
Hey, we all have our callings, and
but I love this.
We're Nate and I started a podcast, and I didn't even put it out there. It's the first time I'm saying it publicly, but we started a podcast called The Woke Detox, and we will be doing it on Sundays at 6 p.m. Pacific time.
Awesome.
And our lineup goes General Flynn, Nancy Mace, Matt Gaetz, like it's all big names. So this is kind of the way I did it. I said, Nate, if we're going to do it, we got to go big. So you got this Rolodex, brother. Let's start using it. Let's start calling some of these bigger names and getting them out there, because let's just go big or go home, man. Let's do it. And he was all for it. We put out that podcast that information I just talked about. That podcast has got seen already 82,341 times.
Wow, that's fantastic. Can you remind me again, and whoever's watching, what is Nate Kane's backgrounds? Just a quick bio on him.
So Nate is a cybersecurity expert and worked for the FBI. And
was he in the FBI or was he a contractor?
No, he was in the FBI.
Okay.
And Nate was privy to some information that he just couldn't just keep to himself, because it was Hillary Clinton with SEC violations, and she sold 20% of the United States uranium supply to Russia at the end of Obama's term, and American people didn't know about it, and she broke a lot of laws doing it. And so Nate actually took that information out of the FBI, put his life at risk, and he took that information to Kash Patel. And I mean, the story is absolutely amazing. And they tried to kill him after it happened. They targeted his family after it happened. And he's just been on this road of just this truth journey for as long as it takes. And believe me, he has had to do this in light of his family being attacked, and he was poisoned twice, not once but twice.
He's probably safer being in the public eye.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He was endorsed by General Flynn when he ran for District 2 congressman in West Virginia, which he will be doing again, I believe, in this next time it's up time for him to do that. He did very well last time, and I believe he'll do even better this time.
Is there a book or a documentary about his story?
There's a lot of them. Deep State Gangster was one of them. Matter of fact, we just interviewed the documentary filmmaker in the last podcast we did. He's in like 4 or 5 different documentaries that talk about his story. I mean, Nate literally is an American hero. I mean, people don't realize it. Like his his undercover name with, when they give you code names, because when you're a whistleblower, they don't let your people know your identity. So his lawyer gave him the acronym MC POTA. And they essentially in the beginning was like, I don't, what, that sounds weird. I don't want that. And he says, no, you don't understand what it means. He says, what does it mean? He says, MC POTA, making communists pay out the ass. That's what it was. What it was. So, yeah, I mean, he testified against Hillary Clinton and he lived to tell about it. He's one of the few. And he knows quite a bit. I mean, he uncovered China had access to the voting database in all over the country, really, but he found out initially in Los Angeles, and he shared all of that information with everybody and showed that they had real-time access into our election system. And all of this is on the record. All of this is absolutely 100% factual. He also worked with True the Vote, who did the 2000 Mules movie. Yeah. And there's a lot. He's a wealth. You might want to talk to Nate at some point.
No, I do. He's on my list of people I do want to talk to. We should get him on a space with Juanita Broderick, because if somehow there's two people who survived Hillary Clinton, who
many people do that.
by all odds shouldn't have, right? I mean, thank God they did. But
even her boyfriend killed himself, Vince Foster.
Juanita's boyfriend?
No, Hillary's.
Oh, Hillary's. Okay.
Yeah, Hillary had a boyfriend. This was before she had a girlfriend named Huma Abedin. But this was Vince Foster. Remember, he was going to go testify against Hillary that day after the bleach pit servers and all that weird stuff. And then, he just blew his head off.
Yeah. People just drown, fall out of buildings, get in a car accident, fatal car accidents. Yeah, it's very, let's just.
Out of, what is the number? I think there's like 40 cabinet members that were in the Clinton cabinet, 40, and 39 of them are dead. And,
really?
Yeah.
Is that very, what?
Richard Clark, I believe, is the only one that's still alive.
How is that not common knowledge? I've never heard that.
Oh, yeah. It's common knowledge.
No, in Eddie's world, in your deep, dark, deep state knowledge world, it is. But the rest of us who are relatively new to this space, like, it's not common knowledge out here in the world.
Yeah,
so that's really nuts.
Maybe I should put together a list and put it out there for people to see exactly how many people actually died around the Clintons. There is a movie that you can catch on, if you really want to know who the Clintons are for real. It's called The Clinton Chronicles, and it's on Rumble. You can still get it. And there are a lot of people died around. And this was prior to Bill Clinton becoming president and all that. I mean, kids died, and there was just a lot going on with these people. They have never been good folks. Remember, during the Vietnam War, do you know where Bill Clinton ended up? What he did?
No.
He went to Russia and protested the Vietnam War in Red Square.
Really? See, this is something that if he were running today, as a young Bill Clinton today, those are the things that would be on the internet that Twitter would be talking about. But back then, it was much easier to control the narrative. You only had a few TV channels.
That's right. And we weren't really using the internet that much. It was like AOL 3.0.
We weren't. We weren't. When he first got into office, we didn't even have email yet. That came because I was like I think I was like a freshman in college ish, and I didn't even have email for like at least another year after that. So there was no.
Yeah, everyone snowed though. I mean, when he was in office, the world seemed to be a nice place, and everyone, as long as everything was good and everyone had money and everyone was getting along, and no one cared, and he was very charismatic. He could not, I mean, the guy to this day is probably one of the best debaters I'd ever seen in my life. I mean, if you just, even his testimony on the stand when he was being cross-examined about the Monica Lewinsky stuff was just classic because he spoke so well. It just like you ended up agreeing with his lie. He was so good at it. But most people don't realize he wasn't impeached over Monica Lewinsky. That's not what the impeachment was over. That's what started the investigation. The impeachment was over the fact that he took bribe money from the Red Chinese and had gangsters that weren't allowed into the country in the White House. That's why he was impeached.
See,
And
that's
then
funny because that wasn't to say honestly, wasn't really that engaged, but just kind of watched the news loosely back then. But it was all about him. The news was all about him lying about his relationship, lying under oath about his relationship, and and that was the only headline back then.
and that's why the left is so weird with their like caring about, well, Donald Trump was tried for rape and Matt Gaetz is a pedophile.
Oh, please.
Meanwhile, you have Joe Biden showering with his 15-year-old daughter with the evidence. Anyone can go to National File right now online and download the entire Ashley Biden diary.
Yes.
It is photocopied. It is there. You can go read it. There was so much more than the showers that took place. That family is demented. They're sick. And
that's why I mean, look at the 2 of the 3 surviving children. They're completely demented, as you said. I mean, Hunter with the drugs and the alcohol and the hookers and the lies.
Sleeping with his brother's wife.
Yeah.
I mean, his brother wasn't even dead 2 months.
Yeah.
And he's having
a hooker, or excuse me, the stripper that he had the baby with, who they then sued, so she couldn't use the Biden name. And
Bicycles was the one that I found the most hilarious, though. Bicycles. So Hunter Biden befriended a crack dealer, a woman, crackhead. I mean, that delivered crack on a 10-speed. Right? He tells this story. It's all over the book. Get Miranda Devine's book or Marco Polo, either one. They detail all of this. So that Hunter Biden wouldn't have to go into these sketchy neighborhoods himself. He got a homeless crackhead liaison that he used so much that Bicycles, the homeless crackhead chick, actually moved into Hunter Biden's apartment with him, and they lived together for a while so that Bicycles was, going and running and getting him crack and that sort of thing. The story is, my son Hunter doesn't even scratch the surface of how bad some of this stuff was that they did. And cocaine found in the White House, not once, but twice. Everybody remembers the first time, and the second time wasn't widely publicized.
People were saying that it was Kamala's, but I don't know how much time
Hunter Biden was there. Didn't you see?
He was there.
Yeah, on the terrace. Didn't you see him on the terrace? Yeah, he was lit. He was lit up. He was high as a kite. And I mean,
so
Kamala.
Embarrassing.
Where do you think Kamala goes to from here?
I haven't given it any thought. There are supposed polls coming out saying that 41% of Democrats would support a 2028 run from her.
I hope she runs.
Yeah, God, please make it happen, right? Let's go. But we don't look at the polls that said they were neck and neck. We don't trust the polls. The polls are nonsense. Some people are saying California governor. But that's what I'm hearing. I don't believe any of it. I think she's going to have to go back to the private sector, but I don't know who's going to hire her. I really don't. What do you think? You must have an idea.
I think she's going to become a lobbyist. I think that she's going to be one of those people behind the scenes that uses the influence and power that she's gained by being vice president to go and just get herself a bunch of money. And that'll be in the military industrial complex, like Nikki Haley did, like Newt Gingrich did. Like a lot of them do.
The abortion industry is more her jam, I think.
I mean, but it'll be a lobbyist's position. She'll never be in another elected position. I don't believe that nobody would want to be. I mean, now look, Candace Owens did such an amazing job on exposing her and her background and her genealogy and her posing with that black woman that wasn't even her grandmother. It was somebody who worked for them, and her when we were saying that she's not black, we were not being literal when we were saying that. We were saying it in the beginning because she never owned her own culture until it was beneficial. However, then the truth came out and she really wasn't black. Not a drop.
She's just
And
so full
and
of it.
it was amazing
Here,
that
she can look at this comment from Seth.
yeah, he's right.
Speaker circuit. I don't think she'll get that much. I
I
really
don't think
don't.
she talk that good to get that much. Jesus.
She's not like she's not Michelle Obama. Like they lick Michelle Obama's feet and Barack Obama. But she will
Those guys
do all
how
right.
about their cook? Isn't that wild that Bill Clinton had a cook at Martha's Vineyard who died, drowned right outside, and then the Obama's cook dies and drowns in the same spot.
But I didn't know Bill Clinton had somebody drown there too.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
it was I mean,
Same spot, same exact
How
spot.
could it be the same spot? Because they didn't own that house. I mean, that's a private
Bill Clinton-
residence.
No, it wasn't at the residence. It was in the lake. Bill Clinton cook.
And the Obama cook was a swimmer. Yeah. Not much of a swimmer.
Well,
What do you think he knew? What do you think he knew? Like, I find
Well,
it's
he knew.
fascinating.
Do you really think that Larry Silverstein passing 2 lie detector tests and having all of the audio files from Donald, I forget the guy's last name, it'll come to me, but Obama had gay affairs consistently. The media knew about this long before. I knew about this before he even ran the first time. You go back in the days, in early Facebook days, on my old page, I wrote a whole thing about it. Franklin Marshall Davis, Larry Sinclair, the one that ended up dead, Donald, so he called Larry Sinclair. He called Larry Sinclair and he told him, and he played that audio, and Tucker Carlson played the audio too, essentially told him, hey guy, be quiet about this relationship with Obama because it's dangerous to talk about this. And then he ended up murdered in his car. Larry Sinclair went on to do 2 lie detector tests, passed them both, and said, we smoked crack together. I had homosexuals.
Yeah.
I won't say what he said. Not even
I saw that Tucker interview. Yeah. And I hate to say it, but when I saw that,
he's telling the truth.
It was believable. Like, I
He
feel
was
like,
telling the truth.
I was trying to look for lies. I'm like, I want to know if this is BS. And I had no BS meter
Why would
going
you
off
make
at
yourself
all.
look like that? He made himself look like a moron.
Well, somebody could pay somebody to do anything, but yeah, I think he was telling the truth.
He passed 2 lie detectors with those same exact facts. And he's been saying those since before Barack Obama became president the first time.
Yes. Yeah. That was, if you're out there and you haven't seen that Tucker Carlson interview with Larry Sinclair, it's a cool hour.
Yeah, it's a wild hour. And he's known in those circles for being this guy. And it's no wonder, like Joe Arpaio. Remember Joe Arpaio? He was a sheriff of in Arizona, the one that would, just very hard on immigration. And he was going to run for office, but very, well-respected man. And he did the investigation into Obama's, remember the birth certificate thing? And there's still questions about that. There's still very legitimate questions about whether or not he was a natural born citizen. And they still do remain. And the reason why those investigations got kicked off was a guy by the name of Philip Berg, who was a Democrat. He was the president of the Democrat Party in Pennsylvania. And he was the one who started the investigation. And then Granny Sarah did a radio interview, his own grandmother, and said that his mother went over there when she was far along in her pregnancy. And so the pilots did not want to let her back on the plane to fly back home because she was in her 9th month. And they thought she might go into labor. So he had to be born in Kenya. And then, even if that weren't true, if you look up the laws of the United States when we made Hawaii a state, you had to remain in the United States for 6 years without leaving in order to be considered a citizen after we made Hawaii a state. Well, he left the country at 5 and he went to live in Indonesia until he was 14. And he didn't come back to the United States the legal way. He used his brother's passport to do it. And Lolo Soetoro, the man who adopted him, became a capitalist, which is the reason why his mother left him. And when he came back here, he was mentored by a man named Franklin Marshall Davis, who wrote the book, The American Communist. He was on the FBI watch list. He was on it. Obama used to smoke weed on the beach with. And he wrote his letter to get him into Harvard, and then he went from there. He went to Columbia. But Wayne Allen Root, who I know, he's out here. I've talked to him face to face, and we've had that conversation. He says Obama never went to Columbia. I was there. I was president of whatever club. I forget what he said, but he said no one there has ever seen Obama, ever. So there's some fishiness, and it looks like the left invented a personality, a person, just invented them and pushed him out there and controlled him. And that's what I think Obama is from the very beginning.
That's such a strange, thing to wrap your head around, but believable. But I wonder if they practiced that method of inventing somebody, getting them elected into office earlier on a smaller scale. And, they probably did. And that's a rabbit hole I'd like to go down. And, tracing it back to who did they invent before that? Who did they practice on? Where did they perfect the craft? And then they got the cojones to say, we're going to do this for the White House. Because it had to happen that way. You don't start at the White House.
We're better at this than what most people think. There was a lady, a CIA agent, who wore a flesh mask and went into the White House and briefed George Bush and sat at his desk and briefed him, gave him an entire brief, and George Bush thought he was talking to the person she was dressed up as. Anyone can go look that up right now. They actually have pictures of it. Guys, we are not, like, the stuff that goes on is very, very, very real. It's real. And it's enough to scare the hell out of you once you really start to wrap your head around how maniacal the United States government is.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. If you read any history book, going back to, what do we have?
Machiavelli and all those guys.
Even before that, in the Bible and all the historical documents around it, we're talking 3,000-4,000 years of written history that we have as human beings. Human beings have always been conniving and evil and manipulative and do things that are just absolutely outlandish, outrageous for power. It's in our nature. It's in our DNA to be dark, evil monsters. And,
remember Julius Caesar everyone stabbed him. That way no one could and no one person could take the blame for killing him.
Right.
We just witnessed them try to assassinate Trump on stage, and they were complicit. They knew the gunman was there, and they let him go on stage, and they kept him on stage.
Yeah.
And then an impromptu visit to the golf course that wasn't on his itinerary. And the guy who showed up to do the deed then was there 15 minutes after it was put on his itinerary. That means someone in the Secret Service or right in Donald Trump's immediate circle did that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, was there ever any conversation like the guy just came every day hoping to see him, or, waiting? Like, none of that, right? I never heard that. Nope. So it really had to be a leak.
He lived in Honolulu. Which was one of the most expensive cities in the country to live in. He only made $3,000 per month. That's what his income was.
Total poverty there.
He was in total living in poverty, and he had lost his company, but he was flying back and forth to North Carolina and Florida to the tune of 2 to 3 times a month. And he also every other month or so, he was flying out to Ukraine, where he was working with a CIA front group.
I did see that. Yeah.
And that CIA front group was trying to bring in Afghan soldiers to Ukraine to fight with the Ukrainians.
And there was a connection between him and the other kid, the kid from
Thomas
Butler,
Crook.
Pennsylvania. Yeah, there was a connection. There was something that they were both
They were both BlackRock.
They were both in BlackRock commercials. Yeah.
Thomas Crook was in the BlackRock commercial. And look, beyond that, they cremated his body without his parents even knowing. The FBI didn't tell him they cremated him for 3 weeks, and they immediately power washed the roof. So they cleaned the crime scene and got rid of the body.
Yeah.
Look, guys, it's enough to. I mean, it's wild. Sometimes, I mean, when I get some of these stories brought to me, and some of the things that documentation that I have, through stuff I've done with Nate and whatnot, I'm like, I used to get it. I'm like, man, should I have this? Should I know about this? Should I be? It's wild, and but it's I don't say anything to just come on and be conspiratorial. Believe me, before I hate conspiracy theories for the sake of conspiracy theories. If I'm talking about it, I've literally done the homework. I've looked at it. I've seen the documentation, the audio files. I've connected the dots, and it's real. And I can defend it. I can show it. And like I said, when I'm done, as a matter of fact, I will send you. I'm going to forward you an email right now. And when you get a little time and you're bored and you can't sleep or whatever, take a listen to these phone calls here that are they're going to blow your mind, but they're talking about bin Laden being alive and Joe Biden's buddy saying he's going to pick up the guy from the State Department from the Iranian airport and take him to where bin Laden is so that they can talk to him. And this is the phone call. Yeah, it's wild.
Damn. Oh, well, here we are. What creeps me out a little bit, like just to go back to the Trump assassination attempts, is the sloppiness of it. Like, there are so many holes in all of these stories. Remember the sloped roof? Like, come on! Like, what are we talking about? Like, what? How brazen, but sloppy? Why? Like, what's with the sloppiness? And
because they can get away with it. They tell us what they're going to do all the time, and then they do it anyway, and we don't do anything. What it was, Elena, is I think that they wanted to poke the bear, show us what they were going to do, and then do it, and think that they've consistently been trying to entice the right to go riot. They've been pushing every button they can, doing everything they can to try to get us to become violent. Look, there was no violence like the way they tried to make it out on January the 6th. Look how they blew that up.
What did they say? 5 officers died? Nobody but Ashley Babbitt died. Like, just
no. Roseanne Boylan died, but Officer Sicknick died, but it's not because they were killed by rioters or nothing like that. We actually, Jeff Zink, whose son Ryan Zink, was illegally imprisoned about 3 weeks ago to do 36 days in prison for a charge where the evidence that he wasn't guilty was given to the court, and the court modified the video to make it look like he was somewhere else at a different time. And Jeff Zink was on our podcast and showed the actual video and showed that the officer who testified to the facts that weren't true, the lies, wasn't even there at the time when he said he was there, because here's the actual video. That officer's not there, and you can see Ryan is not doing what they blamed him for, but they forced him into prison. Instead of putting him in prison in Texas, they moved him to Arizona, where his dad was running for Congress, to try to tell his dad to shut up, stop talking about it. We have your son right here. And his dad said, I don't care. His son said, and I interviewed his son the day he turned himself into prison. That day, he came on our podcast right before he turned himself in. And he said, I don't care. My dad has my absolute blessing to say whatever he's got to say. If I lose my life, I lose it for doing what's right. But we're never going to be quiet. And I just respected the shit out of him.
Wow.
I really did.
Wow. That's love of country, love of truth, courage.
But that's exactly what I've been talking about this whole time. And that's what it's going to take. We're going to have to take people saying, oh, if I do the right thing, they'll take my house, they'll take my car, they'll take my job, they'll put me in prison. So what? If you want things to change, you got to start realizing that it takes sacrifice. Imagine all the people that came over here originally to this country and left their original homes to make this what it is. You think that we're making sacrifices? They made sacrifices.
Oh God, no. My sacrifices are like, not stopping at Dunkin's because they're anti-free speech. Like that's like truly like, what am I really sacrificing? You and I, we put in a lot of hours to try to get the truth out and spread the words, and wake people up, and it's working. But
It is
really,
working.
these truly, we also enjoy it. So how much of a sacrifice is it?
Do you know how many people tell me I shouldn't be talking about the things that I talk about?
Oh, please. Well, those are the people that are afraid to sacrifice anything. They won't even give up their free time, never mind actually give up something that's gonna, something that's gonna hurt. When you think about what the revolutionaries lost, I mean,
Limb just getting here, just getting to the West Coast. I mean, they lost feet and hands and
sons and daughters
children, children, everything. I mean,
everything.
And so when we're talking about just, I don't want to take a stand because my friends won't like me. I mean, are we this week now?
Yes.
I mean, that's really sad.
Wait. I got one of my, let me see if I can find it here. All right. This is a little bit of, I got my book here that I always bust out. This is a little speech of founding father Patrick Henry's Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death, when he was trying to convince Virginia to send troops to fight in the Revolutionary War. It's a little something I have underlines. The battle, sir, is not to the strong alone. It is to the vigilant, the active, the brave. Besides, sir, we have no election. If we were base enough to desire it, it is now too late to retire from the contest. There is no retreat, but in submission and slavery. Our chains are forged. Their clanking may be heard on the plains of Boston. The war is inevitable, and let it come. I repeat it, sir, let it come. And he goes on and ends with, I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death.
Man,
could you imagine being in that room? Could you even imagine?
Pin drop. I mean, just that is the kind of thing that we need to do. I know everybody's like, hey, I don't want to have to fight my countrymen. I want us all to get along. It reminds me of Reginald Denny back in the Rodney King days. Can't we all just get along?
Fantasy long,
right?
Fantasy land.
Let me tell you, there's no way to fix this without a head-to-head collision. Like it or not, want it or not, it doesn't matter. Reality is reality. There are too many people.
We talked about this the other day, though. It's going to be multi-front. It's not just going to be head-to-head. It's going to be head-to-head. We're going to have the cartels fighting American citizens and fighting the American government when Trump gets in. Then we're going to be fighting each other. Then we've got all the terrorists that have just been invited in by the Bidens that are going to come in, Bidens and Harris, and come in. And so this is going to be like.
That's why we need a strong leader. That's why we need somebody who doesn't give a shit about their feelings and is just going to do what's right. And with every bit and might of the strength of the United States. And I think that a lot of the people that in regular civilized society in this country don't realize what the military might of the United States looks like. There's a reason why Russia and China and all these other countries fear us. And let me tell you, if that barrier between our military and our regular civilians ever gets taken down, you'll absolutely regret that day if you're on the wrong side of that. It'll be bad.
Oh man, I'm really not in the mood for it. I hope we can avoid it. I'd really like to just.
Whatever God wills. Like I said, I live my life like a dead man. I just do whatever is right, and whatever happens. And that's kind of the way, God put it in my heart a while back. And I don't know how that I've been put in these positions, and I've been, with, the different people that I've been able to meet, and just all the things that have happened to me. It's not because of anything I did. A lot of times the phone just rings and these people are reaching out and this thing is happening and this is happening. All I'm just trying to do is what's right in every instance without any regard for what may come of it. And God is just just putting these things in my path.
Yes,
And
lighting the path. Yep.
and
I feel the
it's like
same
every
way.
time I leave something else, there's a reason for it, because there's something else that I'm going to do. People thought, I got some people that hit me up DMs and what happened? You and Maurice are, dude.
Yeah, we're good.
There's a reason that we're doing what we're doing. Him and Steve on that podcast, they're a powerhouse. And that it's we move as one, as a network. There are no individuals here. Not as far as
No.
what we're doing, we're moving as a team. And then what Nate and I are going to do is going to be something good. And then I got like 3 or 4 others that I'm getting ready to start up that are big accounts. And so, guys, I mean, listen, we're chipping away at this, like a little. We're at combined total right now of over 300 million impressions. All right. So when we start opening the floodgates up of, different, when we start streaming, multi-streaming across all those accounts, when we get everything worked out, it's going to be sick. It's going to be sick. I mean, I'm already doing podcasts right now when I'm doing it that exceed 20, 30,000. Every time I'm on Rumble when I promote and I turn it on, it goes up over, I think with the last one we had 2,700 people on Rumble watching.
Wow.
If you go back and you look at the analytics, I think I have like 300 and like 270 something thumbs ups. But you know what I really like? I like the thumbs down. For some reason, I focused on the thumbs down. I'm like, that thumbs down, really, I like that. Whoever I got under their skin enough to click that thumbs down, that really meant more to me.
Come on in. Yeah. I mean, on my Instagram and my TikTok, I get, I get
You're
plenty
on that Instagram, man.
plenty of haters.
But I try to catch on there. I can't catch up with you on that thing. I'm just not a meta person, and I try. But every time I try, they're like, it's like they let me get but so far, and I don't know.
Well, they break my so now I feel like they're trying to change their tune a little, like just enough to make it seem like they're a little more free speechy and a little less pedo, right? So my stuff, some of the things, like when I'm reading from the pornographic books that are in the schools, specifically, it happens a lot where you can't share it. So they'll leave it up. But you ain't sharing that. You're gonna have to call your friend or send them a letter and say, go to the base mother's account and look at the video from
true meaning of shadow ban, the true shadow ban for real. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that I've done a few things where they broke. I mean, like I think right now I'm starting to catch on TikTok so much so that they really can't do too much because people are now looking for my page as opposed to trying to get organic reach. My followers are coming and looking. So every one of my videos on TikTok are getting 3,000-4,000. And if they go beyond that, I'm getting like, 300,000-400,000 views on one video.
It's weird. I can't figure TikTok out because my account is growing, but they're shadow banning me. I'm in trouble again. I got this one video that got like 1.3 million and then they took the sound off of it.
They do that. They do that.
See. Oh, wait, they put it back. They put it back now.
You won the appeal.
I guess I won the appeal, but it was like a week and I hadn't won the appeal. And I guess then they looked at it. So, oh, good. Maybe I'll get paid on that one now. So, but I'm in the principal's office a lot. There's a lot of stuff I put up on Twitter and Instagram that is not on my TikTok. And, because it's like,
can't talk about elections. You can't talk about elections. You can't talk about vaccines. You can't say the word kill or murder or any of that. You have to make other words up in place of them. And then if you really want to be like super sure you have to start everything off with saying, this is just for entertainment purposes. And then you go on to say whatever you want. And that I've seen a lot of people do that.
So boring.
It is.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not.
I see a lot of people.
I mean,
I didn't know that they ding you for like if you're doing a TikTok. Like I used to do them while I was driving. I'd have my phone mounted, and I'd just be ranting, doing my live and driving wherever because I'm going all over town all day. And now all of a sudden they say that that's something challenges, like dangerous challenges, or so they give you a strike for driving while you're if you're driving when you're doing TikTok.
Everything, it's just like, I can't take it. I can't take the policing and the, and look at all the politicians in the news media that's calling for social media, regulation on information. And it's like, what next? What
Yeah.
next? Because social media is my kitchen table. I'm the
Yeah,
same
we
person on social media as I am if you and
me
Maurice,
too.
Alexandra were sitting around, we were all talking. Seth, come on, Damon, come on over. We're gonna talk. It's gonna be the same thing as we are
Me too.
here. So
Me too.
we're gonna
I
come.
say I'm probably a little more animated in real life than I am on here, to be honest. But I do
Generally, right?
dial it down just a little
Yeah, me
bit.
too. A little bit.
Imagine like this on steroids. Like I have some pretty bold opinions, and everyone knows what they are because I don't hide them.
But it's the same, right? But it's generally the same. What are you going to do next now? You're going to come and sit in my kitchen and tell me what I can talk about? I can't spread a rumor. I'll spread a rumor if I want to. I'm not the kind of person that does, but if I want to, goddamn,
Just
that's my right.
Just say an unnamed whistleblower said this. That's what
Yeah.
the left does. That's what
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah.
They say an
Sourceless,
unnamed
useless.
whistleblower.
Yeah, I'm not interested in lying and rumors, but I have the right to do it. I have
Correct.
the right to hate somebody if I want to. I don't want to because I'm a Christian. I'm trying to be a better Elena, but stop infringing on what goes on inside my head.
Section 230 needs to be not abolished, right? Because it wouldn't work in our favor if it were abolished. But they do need to change it, because it was written in a time when there were message boards before the internet was this way right here. And so the message board, the people who own the message board would be held liable for what someone else wrote on their message board. So section 230 was made so that they could govern their own content and not be held liable for doing it. That's what it was for. Well, what today's social media companies use that law for is to discriminate against people's opinions who they don't like. Where I believe, and so does the Constitution believe, that once you are a publicly traded company, if you're a private, there's nothing I can say. You can kick everyone off that don't have blue eyes. There's nothing I can do. It's a private company. But if you're a publicly traded company, you should not be able to infringe on people's First Amendment rights. And if they violate hate speech laws, that's different. But there's a big difference between
hate speech isn't a real thing. I'm not even buying it. I cannot.
I mean, there is a line in which you're calling for, someone to be taken out, there's a line.
That's inciting violence. Is different from inciting violence. But the term hate speech, it's like, I just said something mean. I don't like
speech you hate versus hate speech.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and it's ugly. That was an ugly thing that they put into the psyche of the American people. That something.
The funny thing to me
that's
is
mean.
The left doesn't want to be equal, right? Because if the left was equal, if they wanted to be equal, we wouldn't have certain laws for certain groups. It would just be equal. Mm-hmm. If you are a trans person and you're an asshole, and I just happen to knock you on your ass, it's not hate. I just don't like you.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And that's where they this hate crime, hate speech nonsense is just made up so that they can add extra charges and roll all the way over people who want to, who they don't like. And it's an intimidation tool. And I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm allowed to hate. You're allowed to hate. Shouldn't, because we're mortal. We're Christians. We're trying. But
I do. I wouldn't sit here and lie and say I don't. Anyone who goes after children, I hate you.
I know.
I seriously have.
I'm saying,
I hate you. Here. Come over here. So this is my baby.
What's her name?
This is Dixie.
Hi, Dixie. Oh, look at her tucking her head under your chin. Stop it.
That I literally treat her like a little baby. I'll hold her like this and rub her belly, and that's my baby right here. Yep.
Oh,
You on? Say something.
she was talking a minute ago. She got camera shy.
Yeah, she's down there with her brother, and they're arguing over a bone. Yeah, yeah, it's just this is the fight, and you know, here's the thing, and here's what I believe, and I think most people believe this too. We have 4 years of a reprieve with Donald Trump. 4 years. I believe the left is always in for the long con.
Yeah.
I don't know who comes after Trump, but I don't believe it gets better after Trump. I believe that it gets worse. And the reason I believe that, honest to God, and it's not because I want it to, obviously, but it's because I believe in the biblical narrative.
Yeah.
And I follow the prophetic, signs of the times, and I can kind of tell where things are heading.
We
And I
might
think
have a longer than 4-year reprieve, though. I hope so.
I hope JD Vance or somebody like that goes in right after him, and we continue this MAGA thing. And it was a great little meme I put up the other day, and I don't know why it didn't get as much attention as I think it got like 3,000 views or something, but it was bigger than that. Damn it! I said the Republicans didn't get the majority, MAGA did.
Mm.
And that was I just think that's a cool thing, and I think it needs to catch on. We really need to start separate. If we were really a nation that separated the parties into basically what our agendas were, what our beliefs were, we would have 4 parties. Because you have they have Democrats, and then you have leftists, and then you have neocons, and you have constitutionalists, which are more like your libertarians and that type. But they're definitely not like a monolithic group.
No, let me ask you which category this falls into, because I'm twisted about the Massachusetts GOP. You know, I pay a lot of attention to Massachusetts because I lived there for 23 years, raised my son there. So there's 3 counties, 3 school districts north of Boston that the Massachusetts Teachers Association has been on strike for like 2 weeks, and the kids aren't in school, right? So the Mass GOP, which I'm on their email list, sends out this and makes this big public statement like, we stand on the side of parents and students, and we must get our children back into the classroom right away. And I'm like, no, this is the best 10 days, best 2-3 weeks these kids are going to have this year, because in Massachusetts, they're telling them they're born in the wrong body. They're loading them with pornography. They're just like indoctrination. America, if you're white, you're bad. America's an evil country, and on and on. Here's an opportunity for you to say that this is the best thing that could happen to our kids. Stay on strike because you were sick of you indoctrinating them. And we have GOP saying, put the kids back in the hands of the maniacs.
Yeah. Well, not every state has a true GOP. Arizona doesn't either. Arizona's Republican Party is not a Republican Party. I mean, this is the party of John McCain. I mean, these are not Republicans. They're neocons. They're not conservatives at all. They're completely fake. Matter of fact, McCain's daughter said she wrote her dead father's name in for president when she voted. No, she didn't. Her whole family came out full throat, in endorsement of Kamala. Every one of them. I've seen the news article. I've seen everything. So we don't. This is exactly why Donald Trump being in the position he's in is so good, because it forces people to take positions on things they used to be able to hide from. And now we see who you are. Yeah. We see you. You've been smoked out. Dick Cheney, we always knew who you were. You're a warmonger. George Bush, warmonger. Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney is I'm not even a Mormon, but neither is Mitt Romney. There is no way in hell that you can tell me you have any loose belief in God and that you would support Kamala Harris, who denounced Jesus in front of the entire world.
Oh, she was
so did Obama.
Such the blasphemy of that hideous skit at the Al Smith dinner when she phoned it in. Remember that the terrible acting, and then talking about and in the Gospel of Luke, I was like, I'm surprised
she was so uncomfortable, and she didn't even get she said in the scriptures. It talks about a Ruth. No. You mean the book of Ruth? Like, you don't know what you're talking
Well,
about.
she
Like,
was written by
terrible.
some nitwit, some nitwit intern who did a quick Google search and
I
thinks that
wanted to know her pastor's name. She said she called her pastor, and her pastor gave her that verse.
yeah,
I said,
right.
yeah, well, who's your pastor? Let's talk to him.
Yeah, that was what it took like 3 weeks for to find out that she owned a Glock. Remember? Yeah, that Glock. The pastor polishes
The
her
way she
Glock for
said it made you think she shot it sideways.
her.
I have a Glock. Like, come on, dude. Like,
She was,
really?
oh God, but the way I mean, just the blasphemy, you could see the discomfort. It was like watching Satan himself say Jesus's name. You could feel the pain in her.
There are just some people that should never hold positions of authority when they wield it wrong. And when she kept 4,000 inmates in her city, in her state rather, in prison beyond their prison terms for free labor, and she kept Kenneth Cooper in prison for 18 years, knowing he was innocent, and they had him on death row for a crime he didn't commit.
She should
And
be
she
in
had
jail
to be.
for that.
She should be in jail for that. She should never be able to hold an elected position. She shouldn't be able to manage a McDonald's that she never worked at. She shouldn't be able to do any of that. I mean, this man's whole life, 20 years of someone's life. I lost 5 of my own. I can't get it back.
Right.
There's no getting it back. There's no forgiveness for that. There's nothing. This man probably
It's
had family
unthinkable.
members who died. He
Yeah.
probably had kids who grew up. Everything. He can't get that time back. And she knew he was innocent. That's the problem. It isn't that he was an innocent man on death row. It was that she knew he was innocent. She had the evidence to exonerate him, and she wouldn't release it. And here's the sad part. Here's the part that kills me. And I have to, because I'm just a truth teller and I'm going to tell the truth. The person who sued to get the information released so the guy would get released, you'll never guess in a million years who it was.
Go ahead.
Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom was the one who signed the who was behind the suitcase to get her to release the evidence, which exonerated Kenneth Cooper, because she at one point was on the opposite side of helping her people, black folks, and Gavin Newsom was on the side of I'm for the black man, and so if I have to be against her to do that, that's what I'm going to do. And then all of a sudden, the roles got reversed, and now all of a sudden, everybody forgets how many people she put in prison, in jail, mothers of sick daughters who couldn't go to school because they were sick.
Just
and she put her in jail.
I know.
She laughed about messing somebody's life up with the stroke of a pen.
Stroke of a pen. Yeah, putting that mother in jail was like some crazy ass shit, and that of course didn't get any mainstream juice
None
at all. And it's funny,
None
the
at
Gavin
all.
Newsom thing that you just said, like there must be so much animosity and utter hatred between them that
behind the scenes, I don't think that she's liked anywhere. I mean, half of her staff quit when she lost the election. Her closest staffer to her, and I forget her name, Lily Lee or something like that. She went on and did a Fox interview where she was talking terrible about Kamala. She was like, we knew we were going to lose heading into the election. They're like, no, we're going to win. And this Lily Lee person was like, are you looking at numbers that I'm not or something? And she was talking about this in one day after the election. Like they couldn't wait to come out and
come out and tell the truth. Yeah. I mean, look, in her administration, she's had something like 90% turnover.
They all
on her
quit.
staff.
They all hated her.
Yeah, everybody hates her.
She's just a terrible person.
Well, she's not a leader. She's not a leader.
Michaela said, ask Miss Willie Brown how much Kamala likes black families. And I was standing there. I was in front of the stage. I was like at the right portion of the stage. In fact, if you look at the clip, depending on what angle they're filming from, you might see me there. And I turned around because there's a lot of black folks. We were in Atlanta. And I turned around and I looked. And everyone was just on their feet and cheering. And she had that place just going, wow. They were just out of their seats and going nuts. And when she said, are y'all with me? Are you with me for real? I mean, to experience the noise level, you had to be there. I mean, it was something really cool to see. I'd been up for 50 hours at that point. And by the time, I was like falling asleep on my feet. And then she started talking about the network on stage, and I felt like someone injected me with some of that crack that we were talking about earlier. But I was awake. It just woke me up. And
Exciting.
and I was like, it was exciting to go from a podcast that I started doing in my yard, and just talking my talk, and 4.5 years ago now, to creating a network and having your network be talked about, next to the president, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 different times.
Yeah.
And to be invited special guests and all, just it's been wild. It's been wild.
And it's really just picking up steam too. Like, as wild as it is, it's like you're just getting a taste.
It's barely, where we go from here up, we started, looking more like from down the sponsor line, and there were a couple of social media companies that reached out, and we're still talking to a few, and we want to see where that goes. But there were times where people did throw money at me and Maurice early on.
Yeah, I remember
And
you telling me that.
they wanted us to do, they were going to give us our own TV show, but we told them no, because they wanted us to speak how they wanted us to speak. And we'll work with you, with our people, will work with you, our public relations team. That way you can deliver your message, but you'll have to deliver. Like, no.
I honestly, like, because that crosses my mind once in a while that you told me that, and I think about, like, what would I do? And I mean, there would be multiple factors. There's a lot that goes into this conversation, obviously, like when, where, money, this and that. Like, but like, I really, at the end of the day, like, that's the thing that's always gotten me in trouble in my life, is that I tell the truth and I say what I'm thinking. And for somebody to try to stifle me, it has never, ever, ever, ever worked for me.
No.
It always ends in disaster for somebody. I can't do it. I can't do it.
I can't do it. I can't even do it at work. And
that's
that's a problem. I mean, my boss is like, he's so cool. I have the coolest boss in the world. I'm not going to lie. And I respect him so much. And when he's asking me, he's asking me as a favor. He's like, Eddie, you can't talk about this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, here's the deal. Here's what I'll do. I won't say nothing if they don't say nothing.
I won't start, but
I won't start. I won't be that guy. But like, if you walk into my office, I have a corner office in an executive building. It's pretty big with glass walls. It's very modern. It's very nice. I'm not going to lie. Like, I have electronic desk and blackboards, electronic, all this. It's super nice. But I have a rule where we can't hang certain pictures and things on the wall. So I got one of those tack boards.
Yeah.
And I have me and General Flynn, me and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I have me, like, all, like, I want to know, like, when you walk in my office, you know whose office you're in. Like,
right. You know what goes on inside Eddie's head. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Some of it,
and
anyway.
I got several, like, Donald Trump signed some hats. So I gave some out at work for, gifts to my boss and things like that. And it was cool to be able to get some of those. Like I told you, I got to be able to say hi to them over the phone. I called in. They were like, "Hey, you want to talk to the president?" Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. And it was like kind of a real quick hi bye thing, but I got to say, hello, Mr. President, we're behind you at PPN, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, and to be honest with you, I don't even remember what he said back. I was just, I'm talking to the president. Right. So, but he knew who we were. That was a cool thing. Michaela told him about us, and he knows who we are. And, just knowing that is enough to just kind of,
that he's even heard of us. Yes. That he's even heard of us is pretty amazing.
That we're, that's that extra juice when you want to stop, and just gets a little hard and gets a little overwhelming, because people don't realize how much work goes into this. Like, on the backside of it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I don't procrastinate on anything, but like we have website stuff that we still have to do. We have newsletter stuff that I got like 99.99% done, and then life got stupid. I mean, stupid. So that got put on hold, and I still have the newsletter, still relevant, and I'm still going to put it out. Swear to God, I told everyone I was going to put the newsletter out. I have it. I just have to post it. That's how it's crazy.
I know
But
how it goes. I have a to-do list that it just keeps getting backed up. I mean, because there is a lot of work that goes into this, and you live in your life, and you got a family, and you're doing all, you know, we're all just busy. But the creative part of it, the research, the production, the actually sitting here, spending the time doing the videos. Me, I'm doing shorts. I'm writing pieces now. Also, I'm trying to write some op-eds. I'm, you know, trying to contribute to your newsletter. It's a tremendous amount of work. It's worth every minute though, because if I can wake up one person,
we got to talk about that short thing too, because I like how your format is on your shorts, and I started doing I have my own format because of the software I use, how it formats it. But some of them I'm going to start doing on my you know, I have a real deal, you know, like.
Right. And you can plug that mic, right? You can plug your mic right into it. So you get good sounds on the original audio. So you don't have to sync an audio and video separate.
But the camera that Maurice and I use that to do the podcast with is the best camera for podcasting, period. There's not a better one. It's an Insta360 Link 2. And they go in the Core 4 they just put out is 8K. But these are all strictly 4K. No matter how far back I go, it doesn't matter. It's in the M50s and the EV10 from Sony don't do that. But they are, if we're just recording on SD cards,
that's what I'm doing with my shorts, and then my shorts look good. Yeah,
that's what I thought you were doing, and I said, "There's no way she's doing this with a regular camera because they're clips and they stop and then restart." And they stay on topic, obviously, but they stop and restart, and you have the quick zoom and all those things, which I'm doing with AI software.
I have an editor that does those though. Like I don't edit because I don't have the desire or time to learn real editing skills. So those I film them. There's an separate audio and video recording. I send it to him with like exact instructions on what cuts I want and what I want, and you know, what pop-ups and all the stuff and all the clips. So it's a lot of work.
And then I got the new Pro Max deal. See,
that's big.
Yeah, it's the new iPhone Pro Max. The camera on here it's sick.
It's nuts what we have in our hands. It's just nuts.
So I'm going to be putting out a lot of content right now because they're new toys. So I'm going to play with them for a while until I get bored with them. But right now I'm doing a ton of stuff on TikTok, guys. If you have not checked out the TikTok, it's the Patriots Prayer. And the only place that I'm not called the Patriots Prayer is on X. And I don't know why they wouldn't give me the damn ER, but no one else has it. And you better not go get it if you're watching this.
Yeah, right. We got to call Elon, get that fixed.
But yeah, it's just the Patriots Pray there. And I take shorts from all you guys, and I actually put them all into the software, and I put them out, and I try to get everyone's content and put it on because the Patriots Pray page is a hub for all of our stuff. And so I reshare everything there. And, you know, that's kind of what I want it to be. But yeah, I mean, I love the way you make content. It's original content, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do now. And I want to encourage other people to do the same thing. Is just make original content. There are some people out there who just take other people's content and rebrand it. That is so damn low down. I mean, make your own stuff. I mean, if they give you an idea and it sparks an idea, spark it. But don't scrape our stuff, guys. Don't go on my page and record it and on your phone and then read.
I do reactions. To other videos.
But if I do that, you're going to see your name in the post. I'm going to give you credit if it's your original content. Now, if you're just copying Fox News, and then no. But
No, you have to be contributing to it. You got to be adding something.
it's
You got to be
your
making.
content,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And if it's
Mhm.
your content, I'm giving you credit for it. And there's a lot of people out there that have really cool original content. The older millennial has amazing original content. I like that guy. He's exactly up my alley. He's the same kind of attitude. I really like the guy. We were going to interview him a while back, and something happened, and we couldn't get the interview going. And I never got back to him to reschedule. So I'm gonna reach out to him. But yeah, we're Liberty Valkyrie is going to be coming on board here pretty soon. Nick No, the guy that I talked to you about with that Osama bin Laden deal, he's coming on board. We have a J6ers podcast starting very soon called Got Your Six, hosted by ex J6ers and people that have now gotten their pardons and things. And so you're going to be focused a lot on all these J6ers that are coming out of prison, getting pardons, and they're going to be filtered through this podcast, and it's going to be really cool.
Super cool. Super cool.
It's going to be called Got Your Six.
All right.
And our new podcast is called, me and Nate, is called The Woke Detox.
Yeah, I like that. That's a cool name. That's a cool name. Man, that could be like a. Unfortunately, you're not going to detox any wokesters, but we need to be detoxed because the poison, we've been poisoned by it, even though we're not woke.
I tell you what, and I don't say this before we get out of here, but my what's always gotten me in trouble my entire life has been I grew up in Baltimore City, so I grew up a fighter. And I've never backed down. I was always told. Matter of fact, my mother used to tell me, you either go out there and fight them or you stay in here and fight me. And trust me, you don't want to fight me. and my mom was like a 4'9" little Irish lady that wore rings on every finger. And when she got mad, you wore them.
I know the kind. The kind. Yeah.
So it was like I grew up I had uncles that kicked my ass growing up as a kid. The point I'm trying to make is that I always had a hard time turning the other cheek. I couldn't do some of the things that I see some of these people do with going into these crowds and letting people push them and call them names and do these things. I'm not the person that can handle that. I'd go back to prison.
Yeah, some of this stuff, some of the way that these really patient people get treated is very humiliating. Like getting spit on and holding their Christ-like composure.
I'm not that guy.
I don't know how much of that I could take.
I'm not that guy.
But you know what? But I take a lot. We take a lot of abuse online here and keep our heads together, right?
That's like getting kicked in the shin by a toddler, and you can't take them seriously. But if someone spits on me in public, you got to go.
Right.
Somebody's got to go.
You better run. Run. Yeah.
That's the real issue. Cam Higbee is a guy we met while we were in Detroit, and he was one of those guys that went in and pretended to be a pro-Palestinian protester, and he got outed, and they poured hot soup on him and all that, and he told his buddy just the whole time, just record. And I'm like, dude, you're crazy. I would have never been able to keep my composure. Smart guy though, really smart dude. And while we were there, I did come close to an altercation, but it just didn't happen. I walked into Nick Fuentes' group, and it was only me. Maurice was on the outside of this group, so Maurice couldn't even see me. They were all blue hat, America First wearing weirdos, and I didn't know what it was about. I didn't even know who Nick Fuentes was, and so I walked into the middle of these people, and I'm like, "Your shit says America First, but it's blue. Like, what's the deal? Like, why are you all wearing the same suit? Why aren't you in there with us at the People's Convention? What's going on?" And he started telling me what they stood for. Anti-Israel, you guys are a bunch of fucking anti-Semites. And I just walked away, and I was surrounded by them. Must have been, I would probably say about 50, 60 of them. Easy. But I mean, when he started talking that hateful mess, I just called him out.
I have no patience for it.
I don't either.
No.
And I don't either. And I know a lot of Americans don't see it like this, but to me, Israel is my second country. And that's the way I feel about it. It's where my Lord's from. And the Bible says those who pray for the peace of Israel will be blessed. Those who curse Israel will be cursed. And I believe it. Either the Bible is wholly true or it's wholly false. It can't be both. So,
That's true.
I take serious offense to those who take offense on, that go after
We want to
it.
destroy the birthplace of Jesus.
Yeah, and that whole fake Zionist thing, and they try to make it out to be something it's not. The Jewish people have every right to self-determination and self-governance. Every right. And if these are the same people that hear the Muslims take over countries and go in and initiate Sharia law, but they don't say anything about that. They're just quiet, but because it's because of Christ. It all comes back to Christ.
It all comes back to Christ.
All these people are hating us. What they're really doing is hating Christ. When people are hating the right, it's because they're calling us fascist, because we have a belief in Christ and we have a standard. It's all Christ. Yes. Everything we're fighting for all leads back to Christ. Believe it or not, it stems all their hatred.
It all is. It all is. It is all the battle of good and evil, but we know who wins. All right, we got to wrap it up. It's 11:30.
One more question. I see this guy down here. I know what you're talking about with the USS Liberty, and yes, the Israeli fighters did bomb the USS Liberty at the behest of LBJ. But the USS Liberty, when they were bombing it, they were never told it was an American ship. When the communique were made public, the Israeli fighters, you could clearly hear them say, "Hey, this is an American ship," and they stopped bombing it. And there was a Russian ship just a little further offshore that got it all on film. When that was seen and it was made public what was going on, it stopped. The bombing stopped. But Israel did not intentionally bomb a U.S. Air Force a carrier. They didn't do that, not intentionally. LBJ told them to do that, and they thought they were bombing an enemy vessel. And LBJ was famous for saying, "I want that damn ship on the bottom of the sea," because he wanted it to be sank so he could blame it on the enemy as a reason for the U.S. to enter the war. So it wasn't Israel.
Has he got anything to say to that? We'll give him 10 seconds, and then I'm going to eat dinner at midnight.
You're good. Go ahead and eat your dinner. They can look up what I said. It's very easy to check.
Well, you're not getting any. Listen to the military experts. He said.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. I do. All right,
Eddie, this was awesome. Thanks for coming to hang out tonight, and I had a great time. Everybody, make sure if you are not already following and subscribe to the Patriots Prayer, get on it here on Twitter, Rumble, YouTube, wherever we are.
All right, take it easy, guys. I'm out.
All right,
Night,
guys. Bye.